Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another prediction. I am scared at what the time code at the bottom of the screen's gonna be. Say hello, buddy.
Hi, yeah, you should be worried.
So,
Very much.
this is Akil, and he is the Marvel DC guy that I talk to, mostly because Bang is not
I
here right
am.
now. Unfortunate,
I
he could
wish
not be
Bang
here.
was here.
It would be so fun to
Yeah,
talk about. It was just like the three of us, but this is mostly gonna be you.
yeah. Hopefully that means less tangents, less work, less computer straining with saving and editing, because I'm also a YouTuber and I know how annoying it can be to export videos. And yeah,
Yes, well, I mean,
it's.
you are going to still have to give me a shitload of scans, I imagine.
Oh, yeah, that's
And
gonna be
yeah,
good.
so yeah. Did I even mention the matchup? It's Scarlet Witch versus Zatanna. Zahara, is that her last name? I want to say.
Zatara.
Yeah, that's absolutely what I said. So you
Anyways,
can you can get going, um, with wherever you want to start.
um. Okay, I'm just gonna start off with my initial thoughts about this. I am very excited. I have been for a very long time. Uh, I mean, I knew that this was gonna be inevitable at one point. It's gonna happen. It's like the biggest. It's like one of the biggest magic fights, or the biggest magic fight that we have remaining after Strange versus Fate. And yeah, I mean, they're both really popular characters. Um, they're super interesting to analyze. They have really good stories, and they're also really powerful and have so many things to go through. So, yeah.
I know how you feel about Zatanna's design, so I thought you were going to go somewhere else completely when you started saying really, really. Um,
I'm pretty sure everyone feels that way about Zatanna's design.
I can think of a
Uh,
few people that wouldn't, but
yeah. Oh, yeah, her pre crisis design, though, is really bad.
I have not seen it. I mean, maybe I haven't. I just do not recognize it. Let me have a quick look.
I don't think you want to. It's not pretty, it's terrible.
Is that just her, the one without pants?
Uh,
Oh, what is? Okay. Yeah, that's the one that doesn't have
yeah.
any pants on, for one thing. Like, not even the fucking fishnets. Just literally no pants. She's got a cape for some reason.
Yeah,
What?
she does. And like a really hideous red thing on her face. Like a gem on her head.
Yeah, that looks
It's.
stupid. As opposed to the bootleg Houdini look that she has any other
Mhm.
time.
Yeah, I love that look. It's great. But the other look, not so much.
Hmm. So yeah,
And
when
Wanda is pretty good.
okay, I'll be honest. I think the Scarlet Witch design looks kind of stupid, but in like that very comic way, I guess. Like in the same way,
Yeah,
Wolverine's design looks kind of stupid.
yeah.
Like, not as
I
bad
think
as
it's just
classic
like the
Wolverine.
horns just like don't always look good.
Yeah,
But
I could say the
it's
same for
whatever.
Loki, honestly.
Yeah. And like depending on the artist, Batman can also be really eh.
Yeah, sometimes Batman has ears the size of Eiffel Towers. I don't get that.
Yeah, no. It's it's something.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. This I've been researching these characters for like a really long time, and they have a lot of stuff, to say the least. Um, should we start with powers?
Yes. Why not? This is gonna take
Yeah.
forever. Who do you want to start with?
I mean, it is Scarlet Witch versus Zatanna, so let's just start with
Exactly. Start with
Scarlet
Zatanna,
Witch.
because going backwards makes sense for her.
Honestly, actually, yeah, let's do that. That makes so much more sense.
I'll be so upset if the track name is not written backwards. I'll be angry.
It needs to be No More Magic, just written backwards.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, I don't know what
On
else would make sense.
Erom
That's all.
Kijam. On Erom
Yeah,
Kijam. Something
something
like
like
that.
that.
Alright, go
Um,
off.
anyways, Zatanna is the daughter of Giovanni Zatara, and her mother was Cindella, who is a homo magi. I think that's how you say it. So Zatanna is a homo magi, and as her birthright, she has access to a vast amount of magical power. And I mean, yeah, she's just it's her birthright to wield that power. And I mean, her dad has been Dr. Fate before, so
What?
that, yeah, her dad has been Dr. Fate before.
Oh, like her dad's one of the people.
So,
That's right. Yeah, that makes sense.
mhm. So obviously, both her parents are super skilled at magic, and Zatanna herself is also super duper skilled to the point that she is probably the greatest magician in all of DC. And I want to put emphasis on magician because DC is very specific and considers John Constantine to be a bit different from a magician, and same with Fate. I know that's like a thing, but I think overall she might be more powerful than um, Constantine in like a direct one-to-one like scenario, but it can vary. You can argue for either. But yeah, she is good enough to the point where she is considered the sorceress supreme of the DC universe. And yeah, her powers would be pretty much if you guys know about Dr. Fate or Doctor Strange, she can do pretty much everything that they can do, and they can do pretty much anything. She, in order to cast her spells, she speaks backwards. That's like her method of. That's like her way of respecting the rules of magic. She doesn't necessarily need to speak backwards or even just speak at all, but that is her method of, we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into that a bit later, but let's just say for now that's her way of respecting the rules of magic. And as such, she can do pretty much anything by speaking backwards. She can warp reality, she can manipulate matter, she can use telepathy, telekinesis, she can fly, she can create force fields, she can, just like manipulate the elements, she can manipulate fire, water, air, everything, just elemental magic in general. She can burn you, she can teleport you anywhere she wants you to go, she can seal you away, she can turn you into a bunny, she can heal you, she can. I don't even know. There's so many things that she can do. She can animate, like, inanimate objects to fight for her. She can, she can just, like, atomize you. She can manipulate your soul. She can burn you with hellfire. She can, just play with your soul on so many different layers and levels. She can turn invisible, she can turn intangible, she can manipulate her size, she can erase you from existence by kissing you, or, just erase you by willing you to just be gone, and you can be gone. She can manipulate your superpowers, play with them, stop them, duplicate them. She can silence you and, like, take away your mouth, which is cool, I guess. She can remove curses. She can inflict curses on you. And yeah, that's about it. And I'm pretty sure I've missed like a million other
So
powers,
what can't she
which are
do?
all just. Honestly, that's. Yeah. I don't even know. She can do most
Can she
things. Like, literally,
manipulate
if it's a
the?
superpower,
Can she manipulate the plot?
let's get into that later, because.
Oh, I did not.
Yeah.
I do not like that response. Oh no. That just yeah no the fear of God that just put in me, man.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that later. For now, let's just say that she might be able to.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And now my dog's going off. You scared him too.
I mean, yeah. She can do pretty much anything. Like, the things that Zatanna can do are. The list just goes on, and it's really hard to put a limit on that, but that's her abilities list. She can fight hand to hand. She's really good at that because she's a DC character, and DC characters are known for their skill. Nothing that she's Batman. Just because you get rid of her magic if you can, which is, again, not something that most people can do, she can kick your ass pretty easily.
I feel
So,
like if you're strong enough to remove her magic, you can probably take her out anyway. But
I mean, yeah, if you can do that, then sure. But obviously, I guess worst case scenario, does she scale to DC street tier stats without her magic? Sure. I mean, I don't see a reason not to scale her to that. So, yeah.
I have a feeling that would be
Um,
pretty irrelevant though. So
that's not relevant to this debate whatsoever. But I guess as a bare minimum for the people that think she's a glass cannon, she would scale to the oh my god, and they're really going over this. I guess like low level kilotons, like 1 to 2 kilotons, I guess, and
wow,
light speed
Scarlet Witch is in
FTL.
so much trouble.
Oh my god, yeah,
She's
but
gonna get
guess
hit
what?
punched by a
That's
fat man.
not. Yep. uh, yeah, about all of that. That's like a problem with both Wanda and Zatanna. They can be portrayed as really inconsistent, but like at her best, Zatanna can take hits from characters like Wonder Woman. She can keep up with Wonder Woman. She can keep up with Superman. She can uh do all that good stuff. So you can argue that her durability scales, her AP, I mean, through magic, obviously it would scale, but like physical striking power, I don't really know about that. But her speed definitely scales because she does have reaction feats that would put her on par with characters like Lobo and Superman, and yeah, arguably even characters higher than Lobo and Superman. I mean, actually, no, higher than characters like Lobo. Superman has really, really intense feats when it comes to speed and strength and all that stuff. But, you know, she is a member of the Justice League Dark and would scale to characters, a regular suppressed Dr. Fate, who has really good speed feats, really good AP feats, really good all of that. I guess should we just go over her like stats more specifically?
I feel like the problem is
Um,
that like you've gone over it. Like you could say that minimum she's like roughly a herald. But when it comes to her magic, you're gonna be here all day talking about cosmology anyway. You might as well get Scarlet Witch's bare minimum out the way too, and then spend the rest of the video talking about cosmology and random miscellaneous things.
okay then. Okay, so Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff. I'm not gonna go too much into her origin because that has been retconned a million
It's up.
times.
The
And
origin of Scarlet
honestly,
Witch and
if
Quicksilver is up its own ass at this point. I think.
no, if I went into that, like if I really went into the logic behind that, I'm pretty sure that would take up more time than the superpowers, which is really saying something.
Well, that is sad.
Um,
I can't wait to see how DB address that.
no, okay, TLDR, she used to be the child of Magneto and another Magneto's wife who died, I guess. Um, and then she wasn't because Marvel needed to retcon that because of Disney and Fox and all that stuff. Her power, she was originally a mutant, she no longer is. She used to have the ability to cast hexes through probability manipulation. That was like sort of her mutant power. Now it's tied to chaos magic. That got retconned again to where it was tied to the power of womankind. So like
What?
yeah, and then it was retconned back into chaos magic. So now she can like access the power of womankind and chaos magic, and both of those were retcons the life force amp that caused her to like create MJ, like all that stuff. So now she has two different. Yeah, I don't
My
want to
head
get into that.
hurts.
Um, it's really interesting. But yeah, she can indeed cause another House of M with the power of feminism if she wants to.
You're gonna have to explain what that is later, of course.
Yeah, I'll get into that. Um,
Wouldn't it be House of F? That's not important.
that sounds so weird.
It does.
Um,
I didn't think about it till I
yeah.
said it.
Oh my god, that reminds me of the incest between her and Quicksilver.
Yeah, but that's ultimate. We don't need to deal with that.
No, we're not gonna deal with that.
That's
That's
not
like not a thing.
616, I hope.
616. Okay, yeah, anyways. Wanda, I guess we can just say that she's technically not a mutant, but she is a magician. Or not a magician, she's a witch, I guess it's her name. Um, Unlike Zatanna, she is not the Sorcerer Supreme, but she was considered to be a candidate to be up there. Um, she's obviously up there with, characters like Doctor Strange, Loki, Doctor Doom, who are all some of Marvel's best sorcerers. And she wields, I'm just gonna be very, very blunt, she wields the most powerful magic in Marvel. Unless you count like rune magic, maybe. Like, Rune King Thor, but outside of that, her magic is just, yeah,
So
I can't think of a magical
I'd assume
source.
more powerful things are no longer classed as magic at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe the Living Tribunal, but honestly, we're gonna get into this later. Cosmologically, you can very easily argue that Scarlet Witch is more powerful
I don't know
than.
if I would class him as magic either. I don't think I'd class that as
Yeah,
magic.
ultimately, Wanda can do almost anything with her magic. Her main ability is probability manipulation, which is actually really, really overpowered in the things that it can do, because she can just make your superpower stop working. She can absorb your magic from you. She can accidentally cause you to forget what you're gonna like do, say, or what power you're gonna use. Um, she can, do so many other things with her probability manipulation, but obviously her most popular superpower is reality warping, which everybody knows about by now. Um, it really just goes to speak for itself, but she can play with reality however. She can transmute you, she can turn you into something else. She's turned Thor's lightning into butterflies.
What?
Yeah. She's done
Nobody play a
all that.
drinking game of how many times I say what in this video or something to that extent.
Yeah, it's interesting.
How many times have you been reading these comics and gone, I'm sorry, what the fuck just happened?
I've actually gotten used to it by now. There are still some moments where I'm just like, did that actually happen? Like in one of the recent issues of Thor, it's run by Donny Cates. I just had one of those moments, and I'm actually gonna get into that because
Of course
I'm
it'd
actually
be
gonna go
relevant.
over what
Of course it would be relevant to the discussion. Something to in some random
it.
thought comic.
You would think it's irrelevant, but it's actually a speed feat that can rival stuff like Silver Surfer outracing the entropy of the Never Queen's infinite transfinite possibility, and Flash outrunning the Speed Force.
Those are all just words, mate.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a good feat, and we're gonna get into that later. But anyways, back to her regular abilities. She can erase you from existence. She can erase concepts from existence. Time, she can reverse time. She can slow down time. She can do whatever with time. She can teleport anywhere. She can nullify your powers, which is kind of what No More Mutants did. She can put you to sleep with a spell. She can manipulate your insides with like biological manipulation. She can just mess with your biology. She has telepathy and telekinesis. She can control your mind. She has energy manipulation and absorption. She can manipulate chaos, which should not be a surprise, but she can literally manipulate the concept of chaos. She can fly. She can use force field. She can manipulate your soul. She can bring the dead back to life. She can bring herself back to life after she's died. She can communicate with ghosts. She can project herself onto the astral plane. Um, and she's also resistant to all of her powers being used against her, which is pretty useful because everything I just listed is really overpowered. And if you weren't resistant to that, that would be extremely bad if your opponent caught you slacking, which Wanda can, be prone to depending on her mental state. But thankfully, she has those resistances to protect her. Um, I guess something important to bring up is that Wanda is a Nexus being, which technically means that she's a focal point for all mystical energy in the multiverse and exists as a cornerstone for the entire multiverse. Actually, no. She is the conduit for all magical energy, technically in the multiverse, but also in like her own universe. So every universe only has one Nexus being, and Wanda is the Nexus being of Earth 616.
Of course she is.
But that pretty much makes everything that she can do multiversal, just like as a baseline,
Of course.
if that makes sense. And because of that, she can also like absorb immensely powerful magical sources that most characters cannot do, even if you're as powerful as Strange or Doctor Doom. Ooh, so yeah.
That seems like a relevant way to segue into how they play off each other.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just go over her stats. Worst case scenario, if you want to downplay Wanda, you can say that she scales to Marvel Street Care stats. Again, worst case, just like Zatanna, she can be a bit inconsistent, but at her best, she has taken attacks from Doctor Doom, who is not street level, and she has also taken attacks from characters like Chaos, who is literally stronger than the Chaos King.
What?
And yet she can react to characters like Thor, and she can amplify Quicksilver's speed to where he can run beyond space and time, which is literally immeasurable speed. So, yeah.
Of course she can.
Yep. It's just something that she can do. Because she's Wanda, and she can do whatever she wants with reality. Okay, now for how their powers play off of each other, I guess.
I guess my first question is, you didn't mention any resistances on Zatanna's side. I don't think.
That's actually something I want to get into while we're stuff. Because Zatanna can resist the magic that she uses as well by casting a spell that's literally protecting me from my own magic backwards. And she pretty much gains a bunch of resistances to her own magic, so that's sort of a thing.
So that sounds inherently worse than what Scarlet Witch has got.
It sounds that way, but like as long as she can get it off, Wanda can't like copy her power and use it against Zatanna.
Okay,
Or
so
maybe she can if she like.
can
plays with
Zatanna
it a bit,
cast
but
a spell that makes her immune to other people's magic then?
I don't fully know. I don't know that, but in theory, she should be able to, at least to a certain degree. Obviously, if you're more powerful, if you have more powerful magic, then no, she can't do that.
Speaking of,
Yeah, this is where we have to start to, get into cosmology, I guess, which we might as well get out of the way. Because why not? In this case, I would say DC's cosmology is easier to explain, so I want to go over that first,
well,
especially
DC's
since we
more
started
clear
with.
with it, to my memory.
I mean, it's about as difficult to explain, but yeah, they are far more clear. So DC Cosmology map, I'm sure everybody has that by now. Somewhere.
I'm pretty sure
But,
even I've got it on my
yeah.
hard drive somewhere.
Yeah. Universes are infinite. The multiverse is made up of infinite universes that are already infinite that branch off infinitely into their own infinite timelines. Um, all of that is contained within the Orrery of Worlds, which technically houses bleed space, which contains infinite higher dimensions on top of those infinite universes that are themselves infinite. So a bunch of infinities right below the speed force, which layers on top of the bleed. And beyond that is the sphere of the gods, which has a conceptual transcendence over everything below it, which makes it like about outerversal. Um, because it's beyond all dimensions, beyond the concepts of space and time. And if you enter into that, you pretty much become. Um, and that is where DC's magic comes from. So, yeah, that's actually really relevant to Zatanna because, especially later on, she ends up getting a lot of good feats in Rebirth that could potentially scale to that level of power.
I would have
Uh,
thought she'd go beyond God's sphere. All right.
nah, not by herself. No, not like her standard stuff. Which, yeah, I mean, if you include everything, then she possibly can go beyond the sphere of the gods, but otherwise, I don't think she can. Uh, I guess as far as that goes, it means that if she can fight in the sphere of the gods, technically she can affect conceptual entities as well, at least to a technical degree. Or, I mean, everything becomes conceptual at that level, but, you know, whatever she has, she can use.
Well, that was quicker than I
And
thought. That was easy.
that was quick. Oh my god, that was insanely quick. At
Like,
least on Zatanna's end.
yeah, was it? I
On
mean, like,
Scarlet Witch's.
I thought Zatanna would get higher, but like, yeah, if it's only God sphere, that isn't any further than we've already gotten in Death Battle with like Darkseid. I mean, obviously Darkseid now is even stronger than that, but
Mm-hmm. Um, but yeah. On Wanda's end, Cosmology gets so much trickier, because honestly, Wanda in general is really confusing, and that's not that's not ideal in a situation like this, because just like Zatanna, she is an inconsistent character, except in her case, it's sort of like in the nature of her powers. And when she originally started, she was actually like one of the weakest members of the Avengers.
that's
And
hilarious.
yeah, and now she's like probably the strongest, unless like you bring in someone like Sentry, I guess. Which, you know, it's whatever, but she her inconsistency delves into a lot of different like situations and stuff, but basically her most I guess we'll just go off of her most notable feat, because why not. It's M Day. House of Magnus, House of M. It's the day that Scarlet Witch broke mentally, and she just decided to change all of reality and just go, okay, you know, I want this to like be the case. And then like the Avengers and the X-Men technically like just like went after her, and then um well, yeah. Okay, so technically she altered reality twice. The first time was when she just created the House of M reality, which only affected Earth. And after that, after she got attacked, and that led to Quicksilver's death, and that led to her just breaking even more, because by that point she also like killed Hawkeye, like she erased him from existence. And then at that point she was just like, she broke mentally, and then she realized that what was going on. Um, um, so where was I? It was when she was playing with reality, and originally House of M only affected Earth, not even the entire universe, but just Earth, technically. Um, because, she just manipulated Earth's reality to fit what she wanted, and she was like giving everyone what they wanted, and she pretty much just turned the entire planet into a utopia of types. And then eventually, when she broke again, she was just like, okay, this is, we're freaks, like mutants are freaks, we're freaks, like we can't just do what we want, we play with, just like, she just like had a mental breakdown, just totally on every level, and then she just decided to be like, no more mutants. And when she said those three words, instead of just Earth being affected, she affected all of time, all of space, the entire multiverse, the entire omniverse with those three words.
Of course.
And yeah, when she said those three words, everything, just like every single thing, just completely changed. And in Marvel's cosmology, just like DC's, the universes are themselves just completely, they're just massive. They are infinite, and they duplicate infinitely and just expand every moment, every unconscious moment, every action. They just duplicate infinitely over and over and over again. And that makes up like just like a universal subset, and if you make an infinite number of those universes, that becomes the entire multiverse. Or in Marvel's case, you actually have a transfinite multiverse, which is bigger than your traditional infinity. So you have an infinite number of those transfinite multiverses, which technically would make up that entire omniverse, or it would make up a megaverse, because Marvel has also used that, and then an infinite number of those would make up an omniverse. So if we are restricting them to multiversal plus, then Scarlet Witch would definitely be far, far, far more layered into that. At least with House of M stuff. But that's only if we cap them there, which not quite, because Marvel's multiverses just innately have infinite dimensions on top of them, and that's pretty impressive because that would get both Wanda and Zatanna to like high hyperversal, since Zatanna can affect not just the multiverse but also beings that can affect the multiverse on infinite dimensional levels. And Wanda herself has a direct feat on that level, and actually it's far higher because not only did she affect the entire multiverse, but when she said no more mutants, that rapid like surge of chaos magic just like tore a hole in uh Earth 616 like reality walls, and it just like sent out this chaos wave, just like this wave of chaos magic, I guess. And that just like went through the entire multiverse and caused a tremendous amount of destruction. It just completely destroyed the walls between realities. It destroyed an infinite number of universes, of spatial dimensions, and then it eventually reached the plane of Otherworld, which is it's a plane of reality that exists separately from Marvel's multiverse. And technically it exists separately from something like Overspace, or it exists on a similar level to Overspace, which is actually really impressive because something like Overspace would be beyond the superflow, which is sort of like the sphere of the gods in DC. I mean, it's technically more connected to the bleed, but it's actually more powerful in Marvel, and it exists beyond the multiverse and just like has a conceptual transcendence over the multiverse, and it houses archetypal entities like the sphere of the gods. It houses platonic and Jungian concepts and like entities in it, and that's pretty impressive. And Overspace just like sits above that, just like another tier above the superflow. So yeah, Wanda is insane in that regard. Like, her power is just ludicrously out there, especially with like the Chaos Wave, which did technically take a bit of time, and I guess it's sort of like a chain reaction to a degree, but at that same, like, on that same note, it was, I mean, it reached Otherworld of all places, so, I mean, I don't really think you can go, oh, here is an outerversal or outerversal plus, like, layer. Let's divide that by a factor that it conceptually transcends. Like, you can't really do that, and your value would still be outerversal. So either way, House of M, Scarlet Witch has, like, outerversal scaling higher than outerversal scaling. And depending on your interpretation, it can also get a bit higher than that. Because there's just so much stuff that House of M, the Chaos Wave, just everything that Wanda did, there's just a lot of like tie-ins that showcase the true amount of damage that it really did to reality, and it's a lot.
So, which is stronger? Is what I got out of that.
Uh oh, when it comes to direct power, Scarlet Witch definitely has that advantage over Zatanna.
All right.
Like,
Um. Yeah, that you know what? That is about what I expected from this from this matchup.
yeah, she has that advantage. Um, that's like the baseline of what I covered because you would think that House of M was just like the strongest thing Wanda has done. It's not.
Of course, it's not.
It it's really really not. But there is something that I need to touch upon because like I know House of M can be super controversial, like depending on what you go off of, and eventually Marvel realized they were just like, we made Scarlet Witch way too powerful, which is kind of ironic because now they're making everyone way too powerful, I
Good
guess,
job,
for their
guys.
sake. Um, but Marvel likes grounding things a bit more. At least all their characters are super powerful, but they just like don't want to show that off. They don't want to like flash that out there. So they're just like, yeah, I don't like how powerful Scarlet Witch. So, let's just retcon that and pretend like she's not a reality warper. Let's give her this thing called the life force and say that she can't warp reality without it. She needs the life force. And so that's what they did. So it turns out that Wanda, uh, showed up to Doctor Doom's place to like get the life force because her children at that point were technically dead, I guess, or just not existent. So she wanted to recreate them, so or bring them back to life or whatever. So she got the life force, and then Wanda was just like, "Oh my god, this drove me insane, and now I am a god that's been driven insane. So let's just play with reality." And then that like sort of happen, and then Marvel's just like, I mean, not Marvel, but like some other authors were just like, let's pretend that this retcon never happened, so let's retcon the retcon. And that's what they did. Um and it's sort of been like a war back and forth where they're just like, no, Wanda can do this without the life force, and then others are just like, no, she technically needs it, so we're just going to mention it, and then others are just like, whatever. And basically the retcon to the retcon happened during AVX where Scarlet Witch fought the Phoenix Force. And in that fight it was directly stated that Wanda used her chaos magic to rewrite all of reality, and it never specified about the life force. And you'd be like, well, I mean, maybe it's like just not something they brought up, but they directly compare the chaos magic to the Phoenix Force and like create like a yin yang duality between them. So it's like, if it can match the Phoenix Force, and they verbatim highlight the fact that it was the chaos magic that did this reality warping stuff. I think you can safely say that Wanda, with the full extent of her chaos magic, can indeed replicate House of M if she wanted to. And this is touched up, like, yeah, Marvel brings it up again several times with different pieces of evidence that she can do House of M again. Like, one of them, there's like a secondary source, like a Marvel Entertainment video that I'll just to you. But in that, it's like official Marvel stuff, just not comics, but it is like run by Marvel. It's like verified and all that. And in that, it's like a TLDR of House of M, and they just go over like the synopsis, and they're like, Wanda uses the full power of her chaos magic to just rewrite reality, and then everything disappears in a flash of light. So there's that, and then there's um Wanda, where she gets like, is she mind controlled? I don't know. She was mind controlled or possessed, one of those. I believe it was mind controlled during like the Axis event, where she goes after Doctor Doom because she's pissed off, and Doom is like, um, she can kill me, and I don't want her to kill me. So let's like build this thing that can drain her power. And then Doom is like, but I need a bit of prep to drain her power, and even then, this is not going to be an easy thing to do. And that is important because Doom has something called the Cosmic Power Siphon, and that can drain a lot of powerful entities.
I did not
But
even
it
think of
couldn't
that.
work on Wanda, and or it's implied to not work on Wanda. And eventually, Doom does trap her, and he steals a bit of her power, and then Wanda's just like, "You stole a very small amount of like my power," and then she just blows his machine up, and then she's just like, you can't steal that much of my power. And Doom is like, before this happens, Doom was like, okay, so I stole Wanda's power before. I abused her magic, not the life force, but her magic, and the things that I have done with her magic are just so like things that I could have done with the amount of magic, with like the little amount of magic that I stole, could like pretty much undo anything that I've done in Marvel's history. And I only need a little bit of her power. And at that point, or like at the end of Children's Crusade, Wanda supposedly lost the life force. So like at that point, people were just ignoring that retcon. So I mean, you heard it from Doom himself. What he took from Wanda was very little, and her own natural power source was more than enough to just redo House of M if she really wanted to. The only difference is that Wanda holds back a lot and would rather, place her own life on the line than go insane like that again and just rewrite reality. Yeah. And then we get into the power of womankind, the witchcraft retcon, which I'm sure you want to hear about.
I am very interested. Yes. What was that about?
So Wanda got her own solo series like shortly after all that, where she's like trying to like redeem herself for everything she's done, and then in that she states that her chaos magic isn't really chaos magic. It's like never been chaos magic. It's just the power of womankind. It's like an entity known as witchcraft, and it's magic. It's like the very source of magic in Marvel, or the very source of witchcraft in Marvel. And um, she's like, I've abused this power in the past, and that's why I'm feared. Like, it's not because I was possessed by this crazy life force entity that gave me reality warping. No, she's just like, so I've abused this under like a horrible mental state, and now I'm feared because of it, and I need to like redeem myself. And throughout that thing, it's like Wanda building her own character and like trying to move on from those events. And by the end of it, she gets a really good feat where like literally her own power source is dying, and yet she teams up with Agatha Harkness and her mom, who is the original Scarlet Witch, because that was another retcon
Of course.
with like Magneto not being her dad. Um, so those three teamed up to fight an entity known as Chaos, who was like the and like he was just like the complete opposite of uh witchcraft, the source of Wanda's supposed power at that point in time. And he was killing Witchcraft, which meant that Wanda's power was dying, Agatha's power was dying, Mom's power was dying, and yet they were able to, together, they were able to take on Chaos, and with like a summoning spell that like summoned Quicksilver, they were able to defeat Chaos, and Wanda was able to take attacks from Chaos, and along with Agatha and her mom, Natalia, I think that was her
Despite the
name.
fact that
She was able.
they were losing magic.
Yeah, they were losing magic, and then they like still defeated Chaos with together, and it was really weird. So technically now Wanda technically has two power sources, both Witchcraft and Chaos Magic, even though that was supposed to retcon Chaos Magic. Chaos Magic came back, so that's great.
That
Now she can,
that has the
yeah.
energy of Hal defeating Ion for some reason.
It
Just
it's sort of supposed to be like that, but if you really want to get into Hell beating Ion, we're gonna have to move on a bit further down the line. Oh, and I forgot to mention during that era, I'm pretty sure there was like a main Doctor Strange run going on at that point, where there was like these entities known as like the Empirical, which were like science beings that really hated magic because they were like science is better than magic, and so he came, and I'm pretty sure like they drained all of Earth's magic and just like completely annihilated magic from Earth. So like that was like the weakest point of magic. Like I don't think I'm remembering it right, but I read it. It was pretty interesting, and I'm pretty sure Loki had to like come back and like connect Earth with like Yggdrasil's magic, and then it was just like Yggdrasil is the world tree, and the world tree is super powerful. So here you go, Earth. You can have your magic back, or whatever. So yeah, Wanda was technically drained on multiple different levels, and then she was just like, I'm still gonna go fight Chaos. And I mean, to be fair, she was losing one-on-one, but together they were able to defeat Chaos and save Witchcraft, or technically. Um,
and wait a minute.
so like even if you give her like a
Did you
third of
say
the power,
did you say this run was about Wanda being better defined as a character? And in the same sentence, you said that the run was defining her by the fact that she's a woman.
it that was supposedly her power source, but
Oh
it
my
was
god.
defining her like redemption arc,
Right.
sort
Okay.
of.
That
I
makes a
mean,
lot
like
more
Wanda
sense.
is just like not. She's like so like not. She holds back so much at this point. Like she does everything she can to preserve life. Like she's a vegetarian. She doesn't drink alcohol. She created a mutant heaven. She literally created heaven for mutants using her powers. Um, to redeem herself, I guess. And oh yeah, she also committed suicide and then decided to uncommit suicide just to
What?
help
Wait.
mutants. No,
Okay.
she literally killed herself, and then she's like, I need I need you to make sure my body. Okay, so basically the X-Men are doing this thing on Krakoa, I don't know how to pronounce it. But they can pretty much bring each other back to life as many times as they want, so you can't really. They've defied death, technically. And it was a pretty big deal, because, like, at one point it was such a big deal that, there is an entity in Marvel known as Death, like Mistress Death, and with like the Green Door stuff and the X-Men just like bringing people back to life, the Living Tribunal stepped in, and or like an aspect of the Living Tribunal stepped in, and he was like, I'm gonna eliminate Death from Earth 616 because um there's no point if Hulk keeps coming back, and if the X-Men can just bring each other back to life, you're not doing your job, so goodbye. I can just like remove you. And eventually, I mean, Death was still there, but yeah, it was a pretty big deal. And then Wanda was just like, so I can't create a mutant heaven without having access to how they bring each other back to life. So, um, I'm gonna need you to like somehow try to get me to be brought back to life. So she killed herself. And then there was like a huge trial, and they like took her secretly to like resurrect her, even though it was like a backup copy from where she was technically a mutant. So they were like moving between retcons. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And then
No.
Wanda
You're
was just like,
That is the first sensible thing you said today. It doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense. And then Wanda was just like, oh, hey, I know I'm here, but technically I can still bring myself back to life. I don't need you to bring me back to life. So she just brings herself back to life. And then she's like, oh, wait, I don't have my memories because her spirit was technically stuck in her own chaos magic afterlife because that's what happens after she dies. She can't be claimed by death. So she goes to her own chaos magic afterlife of her own design, I guess. Subconscious design. I don't even know. So yeah, Wanda can't die. Why? Because more powerful than death. Supposedly that's what. Um. Yeah. I think we
Okay.
should move on to Zatanna for a bit.
Yes, let's move on. What stupid shit has Zatanna got going on?
Okay, Zatanna has done. Honestly, the things that Zatanna has done are insane. She has. I guess we should start off with her debut, Zor, who is a time tailor person who became the entire universe. I almost said multiverse. No, he became the entire
Of
universe.
course he did.
And yeah, and Zatanna beat him through a magic genie pet that she had that amplified her own power.
Of course
And
she
then she's
did.
just like, oh, magic genie, just make me everything that Zor is. And Zor actually scales to Spectre, or like an earlier version of Spectre, which is still insane because that version of Spectre had like an immeasurable speed feat. He can like play with the multiverse, and then Zatanna was just like, hi, yeah, so I'm as powerful as you, and then she beat him. She literally smashed him through comic panel, or no, he was like, I mean, it wasn't the comic panel in that context because he became the universe, but she just like tore the universe, and then she's like, I can break you from like a different dimension, and
I
then she
like
beat
that.
him.
I
And then
like
she just
that.
decided to like reach out of her own panel into a higher plane of existence, and then she's like, oh, I can ascend between different dimensions and just like go to a higher plane of
I
existence.
really want to see that
So
actually. That actually, I like
really,
I
really
like
cool.
I like the idea of like when characters go beyond their spatial dimension, it's represented by breaking the medium they're in. I think that it's just such an
Yeah,
interesting way to convey it. I want to see this now. Now I'm actually interested in this. Hold on, because I've never heard of
there
Zor
are so
before.
many different panels of Zatanna stuff, and I mean, to no surprise, this was written by Grant Morrison. So,
Obvious, yeah,
as
that seems pretty obvious. Just
mm-hmm.
he is the guy that does that. Okay, yeah, okay, I'm looking at it.
Yeah,
It looks like
it's
she's like grabbing the panels, like grabbing the images. They're like breaking
yeah.
they're
So
breaking the
she
comic.
does that.
You know, this is the kind of stuff in with overpowered comic stuff that I love seeing is when they get really creative in how it's portrayed. Anyway, yeah, I just
Mm-hmm.
interrupted you. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Oh no, I need like breaks talking, so that's
Also,
cool. Just feel free.
Zor looks really interesting to
Whenever.
me. I've never heard of this guy.
Yeah. Um. So this is like partial specter scaling,
So
and
it's not Jim
there
Corrigan,
are
right?
other. I'm pretty sure it was like an early Jim Corrigan, maybe. It might have been, but it was like early. It was like pre Crisis on Infinite Earths, so
Yeah,
it
and
was like
I Spectre's
before
one
the
of the few
before.
characters that no one thinks is weaker in post crisis than pre crisis. I don't know. I still see people who go around with the whole pre crisis just infinitely better than post crisis in power.
In I mean, in some characters' cases, yes. In Spectre's case, absolutely not.
What about
Um.
Karate Kid? Just a brief tangent because I was talking with Bang about Karate Kid. What's post
Oh
crisis
yeah.
Karate Kid like?
Oh my God, he can. He's technically a regular human, but his martial arts are so transcendental that he can throw Superboy to another solar system,
I
I think.
fucking love that.
He beats up Kryptonians, that's like his thing.
Isn't he from the future?
Yeah, he is.
He like knows every martial arts across the fucking universe, and he's just a
Hmm.
regular ass human who's also
Yeah.
a fucking DC Herald. Get fucked, Batman.
No, literally, if you could apply dimensional tiering to like a street tier's like combat ability, he's like 3 levels above Batman. I think 3. I don't remember.
Is there any of like those peak martial arts characters in Marvel and DC that could actually take out Karate Kid without being a character who's explicitly meant to be beyond human?
Maybe like Black Panther with all of his technology.
Yeah, the fact that you need to specify maybe and with all of his stuff tells me what I need to know. I really want Karate Kid in Death Battle now for some reason. It's just so stupid. I love it.
It's yeah.
Anyway, yeah, back with Zatanna. Is there more with the sword fight?
No, that's also like not her best beat because like Zora's cool. So
Of
really
course, like
Spectre scaling.
why would her best feat be scaling to Spectre? It's only Spectre.
It's yeah, it was like an early Spectre. There's another entity though. This one actually has a lot of context. This is one of those House of M like things, but it was never retconned. But basically in DC, there's an entity known as Pralia. Um, who's like the Hindu embodiment of like absolute nothingness. She's
I
like
remember
DC's
you
version of
you hated when the
Oblivion.
Virgin Who Laughs killed her.
Oh my god. No, no. That's Perpetua. That's like a
Oh.
completely different character.
Yeah, okay.
No,
I
Pralia
my bad.
is
Similar. It's a similar-ish name.
yeah, it's a similar-ish name. I know that a lot of people get confused, but yeah, Pralia is super overpowered in like she is just absolute nothingness. She's the end, the entropy of all creation, where everything in the multiverse, everything in the omniverse just like becomes uncreation. That's like sort of her thing.
Hmm.
And Hannah was actually able to technically hold her off for like a few seconds, her and Constantine together, which is like, it's like, you know, it's only a few seconds, they can't scale for it, but like on that level of power, it's like literally anything is worth something. However, the only problem with that is that they were like severely amped and not just from like a regular power source. Um, I think I might as well just send that entire doc to you, but pretty much, uh, technically Zatanna was erased from reality, so people like brought up how she brought herself back from non-existence, which is not the case because there was like a world tree that like Swamp Thing was connected to, like the very embodiment of the green, and then like also like everything else. It's like another source of supernatural magic, and um, oh my god, I haven't looked at this feat in like a super long time. But what I wrote down was that people argue that Zatanna and John Constantine created each other from their own like non-existent consciousness, but that's not true because she didn't do that in the middle of a fight. She had a bit of prep time and she also had help. Or not prep time, she just had help um from the world tree to set it up. Because she did it on like this planet sprouted by the world tree, and after she ceased to be, she couldn't do anything. The world tree placed her like duplicate thing in the House of Mystery where she was super like powerful, or not necessarily powerful, but like Swamp Thing was also in it, and that meant that the piece of a world tree was with Swamp Thing, and therefore Zatanna's amp was like sort of circulated there, so it was kind of weird.
So that's a completely
Um,
different House of M.
yeah, yeah, it's the House of Mystery, 2 different houses that start with M.
So hold on,
Um,
what is Pralaya's relation to the Death of the Endless? Then I'm very curious if there's actually a relation between them.
Death is like the final. Death of the Endless is just like true death. It's like the soothing end to all things.
Like
Just like
yeah, she's like the peak when it comes to embodiments of death in DC, obviously.
she's also like the happiest version of death. Like when I mean happy, she's like, yes, you're gonna die, but don't worry, everything's gonna be okay.
She always
Like
has a smile on her
she's that
face in
type of death.
basically any comic panel you see her in. But I'm mostly curious, like,
Pralia on the
is Pralia like sort of related to her in the same way like Necron is?
I don't think so. I mean, to a degree, but I think Pralia is like sort of her own thing because like she is absolute nothingness, while death is still something. So like death is still like, oh hey, I can claim you, while Pralia is just like you are ceasing to be. I think cosmologically though it makes no sense because technically nothingness should be above death, but I think cosmologically with vertigo and all that, um, death does end up becoming more
I
powerful.
feel like you could argue it makes more sense because once you get as powerful as death, like to something of a lower dimension, death of the endless doesn't exist because it doesn't count as reality to you anymore. It's just
Yeah.
beyond that. So you could
I
even
think
say
technically,
that to Pariah.
I think you can argue that death is just everything as well, because like, I know there's like something that states that at the end of all things, like, as the presence's creation ends, death is the one that like locks the doors to the presence's
Yeah.
creation and just like flies out into the overvoid. So I guess technically she is above. Speaking of Pralia, there are arguments that she's above the presence. I'm just gonna
Are
be
you
very blunt. She is
kidding
not.
me?
She's an aspect. No, because like there's like this scan that says that she existed before God's divinity, but that's referring to like Hindu gods, which who are very very powerful in DC.
They're old
Like I
gods, aren't
am
they?
not just all gods, but like you can legitimately argue they are above characters like Darkseid and like other new gods, but they are not more powerful than Pralia.
Yeah.
Or
So
Pralia.
which
Yeah.
group is more powerful, new gods or old gods?
I mean, I guess it depends, but if you ask about feats, technically Pralia would count as an old god, and that would put her above. Well, technically, wouldn't Hecate technically also be an old god? In that case, yeah, old god should be more powerful. Um,
Wonderful. Or should I say
it depends on who you
wonderful?
classify. Wonderful, yeah,
That's
totally.
that. Please don't make that the pun.
Oh, that would be. I think this one has a bit of pun potential. I'm not really sure. You're better at puns than me.
I'm. You'd
Yeah.
say that. Anyway,
Um. Yeah. Anyways, Zatanna needed several amps to do that. Essentially, the main amp came from the world tree, and yeah, she got the amp. Also, this was an avatar of Pralia, not
oh,
even
of
her
course it
true
was.
form, just like an amp. She literally said, if this was my true form, your minds would instantly collapse and you would pretty much die. And even with her, like, supernatural amp from the World Tree, Zatanna could barely hold back like, the gremlins of Pralia's avatar, or, like, her avatar's goons, and she could still barely stop the multiverse and all of time from collapsing in on itself. So, no, she does not scale to Pralia. True form, let alone her whatever, avatar. Um, that being said, that doesn't like downgrade this feat to like multiversal plus or something, because like I know Darkseid's avatars don't generally get above that level, but Pralia's avatars do not work in the same way, so
Oh wait,
you can't.
isn't the old true form Darkseid now considered an avatar of Darkseid?
Pretty much.
So wouldn't that mean there is an avatar of Darkseid that is above multi plus?
Currently, yes, but I was referring back to like Final Crisis and like back at that point in time. No.
Before D, I was gonna say before DC went crazy, but okay, no, that was way before that point. Anyway,
Oh yeah. Um,
so what will you address as something Zatanna can scale to a good extent?
Well, of course, we have the Zor instance, at least as of now. She does scale to Zor with her genie, and she can summon her genie whenever she needs. That is considered standard for her. I mean, I guess there have been characters where they haven't gotten their like assistance things. Like I know Booster Gold didn't get Skeets, and
Yeah, I mean, I do wish he had Skeets, but at the same time, Skeets is not actually like that big a help for Booster Gold. Like he
Beats is
has,
actually really overpowered.
yeah, like he
Like,
doesn't need Skeets the same way I
no, he
imagine
didn't
Zatanna would
need.
need the genie.
Yeah, no, he didn't need Skeets in that instance, but if Zatanna doesn't have the genie, she is pretty, like, outmatched in terms of power. Like, even with the genie, she is still outmatched, but, like, that genie can definitely get her closer,
Why are both
which
of these two
is very
above Living
important.
Tribunal and Spectre? Why are they above their own fucking series? Vengeance of Wrath of
I
God
don't know.
people.
I mean,
That's
in Wanda's
stupid.
case, we haven't gotten to that yet, so
Right,
at
that's
this
true.
point in
That's true.
time,
I am
apparently
looking
Wanda
at the
is not.
list of things
At
that
this
you've
point in the
gotten written
video,
here, and I'm looking at
yeah, yeah,
UDM,
no.
and my mind is thinking, is there a feat related to the Upside Down Man?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna go over next, the Upside Down Man. Oh my
Alright,
god,
let's go.
this feat is it's so painful to deal with because now Marvel decided to copy DC literally the entire concept and replicate it, and now,
Are you really?
uh, yeah, and they didn't just replicate it for any character. No, they had to do it for Scarlet Witch. So, yeah, we're
Is
gonna
this the
get
same
onto that.
situation as the Pralia thing?
Mm, yes, but also no. Because in this one, Zatanna genuinely shows off her hacks potential, which is really good because she pretty much. Okay, so her magic, like, okay, so the Upside Down Man, let's just start off with Cosmology. He's Sphere of the Gods tier at least, but he could be scaled much higher because he existed before the Sphere of the Gods, technically, because he's the opposite of Hecate, who was so powerful that the concept of magic formed around her. The Sphere of the Gods formed around her, and she has existed before the Sphere of the Gods did. She's more powerful than any god to have ever walked the earth, which includes Darkseid, obviously. Um, Highfather, characters like that. And yeah, just in terms of overall power, you cannot get like the Upside Down Man, the uh not anyway. Yeah, the Upside Down Man, Hecate, they're all just super high up there. Sphere of the Gods tier, Outer Versal plus maybe high Outer Versal, because you might be able to like scale them above fifth dimensional imps and other characters of that nature.
That name does not
And
have any
anyways,
meaning anymore.
no, probably not. Oh, and I know that people are gonna wonder. So, basically the difference between Outer Versal and high Outer Versal is if you view an Outer Versal being as an Outer Versal being would view a infinite dimensional to like wall level character or like one less than three-dimensional characters, I guess, I don't know, that would be a high Outer Versal character. And if you do that again, you would technically get to Boundless. But I know not everyone uses Boundless and definitions can vary, so yeah. That's pretty much how that works, just like a little tangent there. But um that's what Zatanna was able to. Oh yeah, I didn't really even start. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. So she, the Upside Down Man was a really big threat to the Justice League Dark and to the entire multiverse in general, and nobody could beat him. Like literally nobody. Um, you had Wonder Woman with like Hecate's power, and she was like the most effective one against him because uh Constantine pretty much got one shot. Swamp Thing literally died trying to do something to him. He and like in their first encounter, Swamp Thing like turned super big and tried to hit him, and he passively just like killed his arm. Like his arm just like withered away, and just like trying to like switch the environment of the other place, which is where the Upside Down Man gets like all his power. Um, that's like that just like killed him instantly. And Wonder Woman could do damage, and even Zatanna on like a regular level could do absolutely nothing to the Upside Down Man. Uh, Dr. Fate also could barely bind him, and at like it required Dr. Fate to just like Dr. Fate had a different host at the time and he could do nothing. So Kent finally took over. Nabu finally took over and they were both just like or Nabu was like, Kent, if you like you have to unleash all your power to do anything to the upside down man, and even then you're gonna like die in the process. Like you're just gonna instantly turn to dust. Not even just like die, you're gonna like straight up disappear if you do this, and there's gonna be nothing left of you.
It's like
And
what?
then
Oh,
Kent
what?
is
What
just like,
level? You're bringing this up now. Makes me think. What level of Swamp Thing? Like, was it God thing or just like regular ass?
no, it was regular. But in that same like run, Nabu was capable of destroying the entire sphere of the gods.
Oh, of
Like he
course he
needed
was.
help again. But again, he needed help and he would have died, but like it was something that he could have done at his absolute peak.
And
And
obviously,
again,
Nabu is
you can't
below
really.
Hecate because Nabu is a god and Hecate is above all gods.
Hmm. But either way, Nabu's below the Upside Down Man by that same nature because the Upside Down Man would scale to Hecate.
Yeah.
So, you know, it it was complicated, but the Upside Down Man pretty much beat everyone, and then Zatanna was finally like, "Oh my god, I have an idea. So let's try a stats equalization spell on him." And she did, and she fused with him, equalizing both of their stats, and decided to fight him telepathically. And
What?
she did, and then she ended up being consumed, but she decided to say no to that and just like stay there. And then like he was going to defeat her, and then she's like, "Okay, so even if you're gonna win in this fight, I know how to beat you." And she pretty much used her belief to like make the upside down man's life a lie, and because of that he lost his power and she exploded out of him.
Sorry, that's funny to me. Why didn't she start with that?
um okay, so yeah, to answer that question, she was amped.
Oh,
Like her magic was one, it was technically like the upside down man's kryptonite already, or like at least at that point in time, and her magic was also amped, so it was like mega kryptonite to him. And that was because they were all powered by belief. So if you believe hard in something, it turns to magic. That's like DC's whole thing.
right, yeah.
However, DC's other whole thing, which is actually a weakness of Zatanna, is that all magic has a cost associated with it. So, yes, I know how we said that Zatanna can do pretty much anything. No, she can't. She has her limits. And if she defies that cost, she will face physical harm. Like, there will be physical harm, and unless you can levy that in some manner, maybe it won't cause physical harm, but it will cause severe damage to something, someone she cares about, something, to reality, anything. So, anyways, the Upside Down Man believed that he was omnipotent and that he didn't have a cost associated with him. So he's like, there's no cost. I can do whatever I want. And then Zatanna's like, sure, but that's not true. And then she finally proved to him that there was a cost. And then because of that, his power was proven false. And he pretty much lost his power. And Zatanna was just like, okay, I can beat you now. And she beat him.
And what was the cost that she faced?
Um, oh, she didn't face a specific cost in that situation because she was just showing that there was a cost. She didn't do anything that was like obviously it was a super good feat in our eyes, but narratively all she was doing was that she was proving that there was a cost. So like she was like hiding behind that cost and using it as a shield against the upside down man. And then when she did, he fell for it and he got baited and then he just got trashed. And after that, Zatanna actually the Upside Down Man was actually sealed away inside of Zatanna and bound to her soul by Wonder Woman, which actually did not end up going well because he ended up possessing her, which we will get to because this is when I start to get into that plot hack stuff. Um,
Goody.
but yeah, ultimately Zatanna was amped by several things, one of which was the place that they were fighting in naturally amplified her own magic. The way that she spoke her words with belief in like her dad and like her own magical power that amplified her own magic to face the Upside Down Man, and he was also like sort of weak to her magic, and Wonder Woman was helping Zatanna fight him. She like bound him while Zatanna cast that spell because she couldn't have casted that spell if the Upside Down Man was just like flying everywhere, because again she could not face him in a one-on-one fight. And am I missing anything? Oh yeah, Swamp Thing sacrifice that like rewrote the nature of that place so the Upside Down Man became even weaker. And Constantine actually was the one that found his weakness and told Zatanna about it. And yeah, I think that's it.
I know that you're like more of the Marvel guy than the DC guy, but you really do a good job of making the DC stories sound more interesting.
Thank you. I mean, it kind of is. Like, I'm gonna be very honest. Justice League Dark is like one of my favorite runs. So, it was awesome. Just like everything that happened.
Yeah, I mean,
Everything that she can do.
it does sound like quite interesting. I like the way it uses the established,
Lore.
yeah,
The
like
writer was really good.
the magical system that DC has, and it
Mm-hmm.
uses it to defeat the character in a really interesting way.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
that
like
was a
that.
really good. Um, so yeah, Zatanna was amped, but she did gain some good hacks from that, obviously. She was amped by the place that she was in, which was, I think it was in the Sphere of the Gods, or it might have been above the Sphere of the Gods. It was like somewhere in that region. She can't access it normally. She needed Wonder Woman to access it, and obviously Wonder Woman also lost the power that she had, so she can't just like summon Wonder Woman and be like, "Hey, could you open this up for me?" And at that point, why can't Scarlet Witch just be like, "I want to summon, oh, I don't know, Doctor Strange to take care of uh Diana," and that would
Why do I feel
whatever.
like Doctor Strange versus Wonder Woman could be an actual debate?
It could, depending on what Wonder Woman uses. I mean, obviously, in like a regular fight, Wonder Woman can do nothing, but like her actual like gear that she has are super powerful,
I mean, you
like
could probably argue that
artifacts.
she's a more skilled hand-to-hand fighter, at least.
Oh yeah, she definitely is. Like, there's no competition in that regard. Yeah, like Diana is like probably the best like combatant in DC. Like, maybe not as good as Karate Kid, but like I wouldn't be surprised if you could argue that she's better than him because
I
like
mean,
she's seen
admittedly,
many of
Karate
his
Kid's the
moves.
regular human that's so good at martial arts, he's throwing Kryptonians around. So, I, I feel like Karate
And
Kid's
then
almost a
yeah,
joke, but a very funny one and a very cool one.
hmm I remember when Iron Fist versus Karate Kid was like
That would
a
have been
debate, and now it's
so.
just like no, it's not a debate.
That would have been so sad if that happened. Karate Kid just like launches Iron Fist across the universe, kills him like that.
Like, even if you say that Karate Kid is only a street tier in like stats, he could just be like, "Oh, Iron Fist, let me just use your momentum against you and
He
like
just
chuck you into galaxy where, like, into like out of the Milky Way where you would just like suffocate to death."
this feels like one of those cases where even if you use that like one thing where Iron Fist like destroyed a universe or whatever, that still would not help him much.
It won't, because if you look at Karate Kid's like peak, he's just way higher.
I really want Karate Kid to have a fight.
Um.
Don't put him into composite Karate Kid versus composite Rocky. That'd be so stupid.
Oh my god. Yeah. Anyways, that was Wanda. Or no, that was
That was
Zatanna. What the
Zatanna.
heck? Um. Yeah.
So are
Uh.
Wanda's ones that you've listed there similarly things that happened but have context, or are they just things where like there's no context? She did that.
Wanda. No. The Wanda feat where Marvel copies DC and just goes, let's go. Let's make. We really liked Zatanna doing this to the Upside Down Man, and Marvel's just like, let's do that with Wanda. And they did, and here's the thing. Does that make Wanda just as powerful, or like that feat just as powerful? Approximately, because like they also stole the context, and like they stole the context and then they changed it up a bit. But then the story was so quick, and it was just like, you stole the concept, but like you couldn't even steal the good story. You just like butchered it and like sped through it, and it's like there's no development to this. You just gave Wanda an amp. Like that's all you did. You didn't do anything besides that. Because what Wanda did was, um, she teamed up with Doctor Doom to like go to Chthon's realm, or yeah, she did that to go to Chthon's realm, and she tricked Doom. Like Doom was going to use this thing called the Darkhold, which is like this magical book in Marvel, and I haven't fully gone over the Darkhold like stuff. I know that it probably has a lot of lore associated with it. I haven't fully researched it, which I hope to do. At least, I mean, I'm obviously going to do it before the G1 blog is published, but it has so much magic and like so much dark magic that a lot of characters don't know about, obviously. And Wanda is just like, oh, Doom, you have that book, and I know what you do whenever you get these huge, like, power-ups. So I'm just gonna, like, pretend you're not here, and I'm gonna one-shot you, and that's exactly what she did. She tapped him on the shoulder and, like, burned him in, like, I don't know if they were, like, the flames of the Faltine, but they were something. They were, like, super overpowered fires that just, like, completely burned Doom and, like, beat him. Like, just instantly got rid of him. She took the Darkhold from him, and then she fused it into her own soul, and then she's like, I only have a fraction of your chaos magic, Mr. Chthon. Actually, wait, did I even talk about Chthon?
You have not. You
Did
just
I?
brought him up.
Okay, so the chaos magic that Scarlet Witch has stems from an elder god called Chthon,
Of
and
course it
we're
does.
gonna get into him because cosmologically he scales so much higher than I thought. Literally, until like a month or two ago, I was like, oh, Chthon's strong, but he's not like that strong. And then I was like, let's just research him a little bit. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, I was completely wrong, because it was like the level that I thought he was at was just not even remotely close to where he actually is. So, anyways, um, yeah, she absorbed the Darkhold, and the context is that Wanda does state that I am less powerful than you because I only have like an infinitesimal amount of the chaos magic that you possess, but this Darkhold has control over you. So once she fused it into herself, she became like the anti-Chthon, and she absorbed him and merged with him, and then she's just like, you've possessed me before, you've used me as a vessel to like play with reality, but I'm sick of it, and now you are going to be my slave, and you are going to be like sealed away in my body, and I am going to be the one that possesses you and uses your power however I want. So now she has the power of an elder god. So you know that power that she had when she did House of M? Yeah, just multiply that by like an outerversal infinity, if that even makes sense.
Of course.
Yeah. Any character development? Nope. Other than Wanda getting revenge on Doom and Chthon, which I guess is cool, good for her.
So now Wanda owns slaves.
She has an elder god trapped to her soul.
So
And,
where did this Chthon come from? Was that like ever established?
yeah, oh my god, Chthon is like a super old character. He is the sister, he's like one of the elder gods that existed before the current multiverse. And
I'll
his
be honest. This
sister,
this just sounds like Sidorak and Juggernaut.
I'm pretty sure, I think Chthon is like older than Sidorak. He's definitely more powerful than Sidorak, at least from what I know of.
I'm gonna just look it
He's
up
the
quickly.
sister of he's the sister of Gaia, I don't know.
Is it
I've heard
spelt
it
with an E
pronounced
or
both
spelt
ways.
with an I?
Oh, an E.
I
I
think
mean, it's
it's I
spelled both
think
ways, so
I think it's
Gaia,
it's
Gaia.
Gaia, but
Yeah,
It's really
she's the mother of Thor. Oh my god, this rant.
yeah.
We went
The
over the Phoenix Odin thing back in the Batman vs. Iron Man video. Marvel has made it so much more confusing.
okay, no. I'm having a quick look. Chthon first appeared in 1975, and Sidorak was first mentioned in 1964, but first appeared in 1965.
Okay, so Chthon, no, I mean like in terms of like power, I guess Chthon is
Oh,
higher
I
in the
imagine.
hierarchy.
Okay, so technically the first time Sidorak appeared in person, like fully, was 1992, but he was
Mm-hmm.
mentioned like a decade before Chthon first appeared as the
Yeah,
other. Wait, the other? Is that what the fucking Chitauri guy from in the MCU's based on? Is he based on Chthon? Like,
I no, I don't think so.
I
No,
hope not,
Chthon is
because that
probably like his
sounds
own thing. Hopefully,
that
he
sounds
better
so.
be.
I'd be so upset if that nobody that gets killed by Ronan the fucking Accuser is based on the guy who powers Scarlet Witch, or
Yeah, no,
used
that would
to.
be terrible.
It'd be funny though.
No, so yeah, anyways, Chthon is insane. Just like, he is absolutely, like, if you thought Wanda was powerful, Chthon is just, he is the one that gives her power. So obviously he's going to be significantly more powerful. His literal realm is described as a time beyond time and a place beyond place. Um,
Of course it
he's
is.
beyond the very concept of evil. Like, you have the concept of evil. No, he's beyond the concept of evil. He's like, um, generally, I mean, in Marvel, everyone is an aspect, like, everyone evil is an aspect of the one below all. Well, then Chthon is, like, below the one below all, but he's, like, beyond most other evils. He's literally been described as the underbelly of creation and the shadow that lurks beneath the feet of God. But that's still not like fair to describe him because he's still so much more than that. Um.
To be honest, that feels like the sort of quote that people would use to say he scales to the one above all.
Oh yeah, that's like this type of stuff that people used for DC to say, "Oh my God, the Upside Down Man is above the presence." No, no, he's
Oh, did
really,
you know
really not.
Empty Hand is like the strongest thing in all of DC?
No, nope.
I
He's an
I I,
aspect of the Great
I
Darkness.
remember you got pretty upset at one point because of people saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, like saying that the presence is not the strongest thing in DC is like okay, I guess, but like saying that random ass characters that can't even match an aspect of the presence are stronger than him, that
I
pisses
mean,
me
who would you
off.
say is stronger in the presence? Beyond like things that are
Honestly,
clearly just meant to be the presence, but more.
no, I think the presence is the most powerful character in DC. I'm okay with people having a different interpretation as long as that interpretation isn't just like not supported whatsoever. Half the time it's not supported whatsoever, so that pisses me off.
That's fair.
Um, Yeah, anyways, what else can Cthulhu do? Well, yeah, his realm passively attacks your mind and your emotions and your soul, your body, everything. And then Wanda just walked in, and at first she was like, "Oh my god, Doctor Doom, you're protecting me." And then she's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna one shot you and take all your stuff. I don't need you." So she has passive resistances now to mind attacks, soul attacks, to whatever attacks. And obviously she can resist her own powers being used against her, and she can also use telepathy. She can also use soul manipulation, all that stuff. So
Doctor
she
Doom
has like
seems like the
multiple different
innocent
ways.
party here. Like I know he's
She,
probably not
yeah.
because it's Doctor Doom, but the way you describe it, he comes off like he didn't do anything wrong. He was just there, and she decided to kick his ass for no reason.
To be fair, he did try to like. Did he try to marry her? No, yeah, no. They were like engaged. He like tricked her. He manipulated her. He technically stole the life force. He caused all of that, and then
Doom's a dick. He deserves it. It just feels like in this situation, he wasn't doing anything wrong.
yeah. I know, Wanda literally rubbed it in his face. She's like, I now have all this power and you can't mess with me, so
Literally
yeah.
blows Raspberry and throws him back to Earth.
To be fair, he also tricked Hawkeye into sleeping with a Doombot, so yeah, that happened.
I'm my mind immediately jumped to the Lego Doombot, who's like the Hulk but a robot, and that's the image in
Oh,
my mind now.
I mean, I think it's unfair to say that he tricked Hawkeye. He just like made a Doombot of Scarlet Witch, and then like he just sent that out there, and then Hawkeye slept with a Doombot that looked like Scarlet Witch.
Was it
So
just to be a dick? Did he have like any real motivation to do that, or did he just want to be an asshole?
I think he wanted to hide Wanda. I don't remember exactly. It's been a while since I've read Children's Crusade, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it was to like hide Wanda.
Right.
So, I mean, Hawkeye was pretty upset when he like learned that, as most people would be, I guess. But yeah, it's Doctor Doom. What's he gonna do about it?
Shoot an arrow at him.
Uh, okay, yeah, we went over that. What else can he do? Oh right, Chthon. He's been stated to be the greatest of all elder gods, which includes Gaia, who could give Hercules a small portion of her power, and with it, he could tangle with the Chaos King. So, yeah, current Wanda is above the Chaos King, which is pretty good. And there's like several scans that say that Chthon is the greatest of the elder gods. Like, I mean, obviously he's roughly on par with uh Gaia, but like there's like a slight upscaling thing, I guess. He's above Shuma Gorath, who has been described as an aspect of Oblivion, like the Chaos King, I guess. And um, he, Shuma Gorath can be scaled to the neutral zone, which I guess if we compare it to like DC, it would be like the Monitor Sphere, which is above the God Sphere, which is really insane. But if you scale him up there, then you could say that Chthon is on par with, gods like the monitors,
That's
if you like use
ridiculous.
verse equalization. So that's just great.
So what I'm
Is
getting
that
out of this is that when DC did this storyline, they focused on storytelling, character, and thoughtfulness and intelligence. While when Marvel did the storyline, they just went big number.
yeah?
Job,
I mean,
Dio.
I'm sure like Marvel doesn't like write stuff to like power scale, but if you put the lore together, that's what it seems like.
So
It's
she just has this power now. She just ate a book, and now she's this strong.
yeah, pretty much.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Now I'm
I mean,
wishing that Zatanna was the one like could just bring in Hecate Wonder Woman.
that would be, yeah. Then it would be a bit fairer. That being said, actually no. Do I have anything else to go over Wanda? This one, the
There's
Batman versus Iron Man prediction video was like so organized, and this one is just like all over the place. We're
I mean,
just,
I
but
guess that makes sense when we're
whatever.
talking about someone who speaks backwards and someone who uses chaos. So I guess this is just thematic.
That makes me feel better.
So there is still
It
the
makes me
Phoenix
feel so
Force
much better.
stuff that you've got written here.
Oh my god, there
So
is so much
I
stuff to
assume
cover.
I assume the name drop is like when they were talking about things that could take out the Phoenix Force, and they mentioned like Thor and Galactus, and I assume Wanda's one of
King
them too.
Thor.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, she was one of them.
obviously,
I mean, the other
obviously not
guys were
that
like
much.
the Beyonders, the Living Tribunal. Pictures like that.
Well, if she's already above them, I guess that's not really impressive. So wait, it
Oh yeah, you know
how?
what? Do you just want to like get Wanda over with like every single thing?
Hold on. So I'm wondering, like, when it says like destroy the Phoenix Force, what state of the Phoenix Force? Like, is this white hot room?
Um, no, we don't know specifically.
Of course we don't. Did
I'm
they
pretty
just
sure
not
it's
know?
just like the Phoenix Force, not like the White Phoenix of the Crown.
Okay, so it's not as crazy as it initially seems when I read that.
Um, well, let's get to that. First, do you want to go back to the Life Force for a second? Because I know people are going to be like, are they going to use that? And then it just becomes a moment.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
If the research team doesn't like, I think they might just be like, there is enough consistency to say that Wanda can do stuff without the uh life force, but worst case scenario, it's like House of M is so iconic to like Wanda. You know that if they don't use it, people are gonna riot. Like it's like nowadays the versus community is just so toxic that um yeah, I don't know. Even
Yeah, I
Marvel and DC, like in this debate, most people have been respectful, but I have been in places where people are just like, I mean, I saw a comment that's like, if Scarlet Witch loses, I'm literally gonna get Feige to like shut down Death Battle, or like Disney to shut down Death Battle. And when I'm like, I don't think Disney's gonna care, but okay. And then there are like
But Death
comments
Battle's
from like
owned by
Zatanna
Warner
fans.
Brothers.
Yeah, and then there
What?
were like, and then there were like Zatanna fans that were just like that were just like saying slurs and like just, I don't know, like making threats. And I was like, this is like not necessary at all.
Fuck's
But
sake.
you do you, I guess.
Did they say the slurs backwards?
No,
Damn it.
what disappointments.
You disappoint me. You douches. Fuck's sake.
Yeah.
I
Anyways, Life
absolutely,
Force.
absolutely, I think House of M's going to be at least mentioned. Like, I feel like because when they like to go over the story as well, that's
Yeah,
such
yeah,
an iconic part of Scarlet Witch that like even
yeah, no,
with
like,
MCU, Wanda being like the probably the more popular one nowadays because of all the MCU stuff. House of M is still something that's brought up a lot, even though it's never been
yeah,
in
if
like a movie.
hmm they're gonna use House of M, and once they use House of M, it's like they might have to get into all the retcon like confusing stuff. But once they do that, it's like, okay, so Wanda has this life force. If they use the life force and specifically say she needs it, but still give it to her, then I honestly can't really see Zatanna taking a win because of two things, actually. One, the life force was stated to be more powerful than the Beyonder, and two, you would think that's the best thing, and that's the best thing that most people point out. But Doctor Doom could not handle that power of the life force, but he could handle the power of the Beyonders. And the reason he couldn't handle the power of the life force was because it was ascending to the level of, quote, the creator. And generally, when someone is referring to the creator, and it's very clearly implied that the creator is more powerful than the Beyonder or the Beyonders, the Ivory Kings, it is going to be referring to the one above all, or an aspect of the one above all.
Of
Which means
course.
that if you give the life force to Wanda, you would essentially be giving her the power required to ascend to the level of the mystery, I guess, which is pretty much Marvel's version of the Overvoid. Um, that should speak for itself. I don't know how much more I can like go into that. Like, what hacks is gonna save you from that? Like, power replication is not gonna work on that. Like, Doom nearly died doing it.
This is so stupid.
Wanda was driven mentally insane, but physically she was intact. Doom was just gonna like cease to exist. What are you gonna do about that, Zatanna? Like,
Have we got
there's
the
nothing.
recommended readings of this battle?
Yeah, a Children's Crusade is in it, and more importantly, if you think the mystery is powerful, there's something in Marvel called the House of Ideas, and everybody, or like everybody that anticipated that I was going to do this prediction video with you, knew that this was coming at one point or another.
I knew this was
And
coming as well.
yeah,
What's DC's
it's,
equivalent to the House of Ideas?
I don't actually know. I
Like,
know they have like something in like Vertigo
would it
and
just
like
be like
Sandman.
the sphere that the endless, or not the endless, the that like Lucifer would exist on? Is it the Leviathan of
No,
stories? I
no,
don't
DC
know.
doesn't really have a House of
Actually, no.
Ideas.
Is the Leviathan of
It's
stories above the Overvoid or below it?
it's I know people have argued above, but I'm pretty sure like according to main DC continuity, it's below.
Hmm.
Which I guess the Leviathan of Stories is like the closest thing you can associate with the House of Ideas, but
Like, I feel like just in concept they sound similar enough, but it's like this is where like all the
yeah.
stories are. But like at the same time, the Overvoid is like where all the stories are drawn. So
hmm The House of Ideas is where the drawer exists. It's where the one above all is just the writer, the reader, the editor, composite,
so yeah,
everything.
there should be a
Um,
realm in DC that's similar. Just doesn't. They might just not have a name.
yeah. I think we'll save the House of Ideas just for a bit later.
Yeah, because once you bring up
But
the
yeah,
House of Ideas, battle over, Zatanna's gone. There is no coming back from that.
yeah. Um, that's pretty much it. But we're gonna go back to House of M because this is chaotic, and we're gonna just keep jumping from point to point with no order to it because this is literally a battle between chaos and speaking backwards, which shouldn't be orderly. So this can be chaotic. Um, Wanda, not Wanda. Yeah, Wanda. House of M. Also, technically, the chaos wave that I brought up. Um, Previously, I used to just disagree with that feat because it seemed inconsistent, but um Captain Britain and Magon, I think that's his yeah, I think a character named Magon who's related to Captain Britain. She was channeling the power of the beyond or the beyond realm at that point in time, which I don't know, I guess it's beyond the multiverse, the power of the place that the Beyonders came from. Technically she channeled it and she still couldn't stop the chaos wave.
Oh,
Um
goody.
yeah, no, and then Roma was literally in order to stop it, I need to destroy Earth
Shut up,
from which the
Theo!
chaos wave is coming from. Because if I don't destroy Earth, if I don't destroy the source of that power, then nothing else will, be left remaining. Because Otherworld is eventually going to be destroyed if you don't stop it. And it's not just going to be destroyed, it's just going to turn into a conceptual blob. The concepts of order and chaos will cease to be, and it's affecting on not just a physical but on a temporal, on a conceptual, on every level you can imagine. And then if not even the power of the beyond can stop it, then no one can stop it except for Wanda herself if she decides to patch that up and stop going crazy. But obviously that wasn't an option, so Roma was just I can destroy um Earth 616 and maybe that can stop it, but otherwise no choice. uh yeah, that was the chaos wave. Another piece of evidence that you can say, oh, scales to the beyonder. And for reference, the beyonder is high outer versal, not regular outer versal.
It's probably a
And
bunch of people
quite
confused
honestly, you can
the difference between the Beyonder and the Beyonders. Beyonder's like the fucking dickhead in the stupid suit with the funny hair that appeared in that one Spider-Man cartoon. And the Beyonders are those
uh-huh.
alien fuckers that killed the Living Tribunal, but not really, because he was fine eventually.
He comes back. I
And
mean,
I
they're both
think
from
I
the same
think I
place.
think the Beyonders is where God Doom gets his power,
He
and
also
the
stole the power of the beyonder.
of
I mean, the
course.
beyonder is the same as the. He's a child unit supposedly nowadays, so the beyonders are technically more powerful. But I've seen people argue that the beyonder is more powerful, and it's just whatever.
And there are
Beyonder,
people who
beyond well.
argue the Beyonder is more powerful than the one above all.
Oh my god, I hate that argument.
I still see it. I've still seen relatively recent, 2021, January 2022, pre retcon Beyond is more powerful than one above all. I still see that. I still see that.
Yeah, no, he's not. So it's really that simple. He's just not. Um, yeah, that's the Beyonder, and the Beyonders. I mean, Wanda. There's evidence that she's
Oh, yes,
Beyonder.
I'm sure a lot of people have just lost the plot. I'll try my best to summarize what I've picked up from this conversation. Um, Minimum,
Yeah, you know what?
you could argue their
Yeah.
physicals are street tier, but that's a bit of a low ball, and that's going off of their lower ends and their lower showings. Generally, you could probably just put them at Herald if you're gonna do a low end, and that would be fine.
Skyfather.
But
No, it's just
yes, their magic is way beyond that, and should at least be out of Versal in terms of
yeah.
their best showings. But Wanda is more powerful in raw power, because of course she is, and
Mm-hmm.
that's about the extent of it. Zatanna's moments either have a lot of context or they're against Zor, which is like scaling to an early Spectre, and Wanda's don't really bother with context. She just eats a book and becomes as powerful as the guy that was powering her. And with something else that powers
Um.
her that's completely unrelated, she is even more powerful and approaching the realm of the one above all or something like that. And you've not even gotten
Yeah.
to the house of fucking ideas yet, which is another
You know what?
house
Let's
in this
just go
video, but
over.
we've talked about 3 fucking houses in this video that are all completely unrelated to each other.
No, I mean, yeah. Um, okay. I guess next one, we let's just move on to Zatanna for a bit, because it's been Wanda. It's been on Wanda for a
Zatanna
quite a
seems
bit,
so
so
much more simple.
this next bit, not so much.
Oh no.
Okay, so Zatanna, I guess there are two feats that I wanted to bring up. Lunge wanted me to bring up one specific feat. It's an outlier, not for Zatanna, but for, DC's Enchantress. Uh, she was able to. So the Spectre was going on a rampage, was
Which
going to destroy
Spectre?
all of DC's magic, should be out reversal, obviously, because it comes from the Sphere of the Gods.
Okay, which
Probably even
Spectre?
higher, maybe.
Okay.
She was physically strained, and it would be an outlier for her because I don't really know much about Enchantress, so it might not. But like from what I know, she's like a Herald tier character, so obviously not Sphere of the Gods tier. Zatanna was one of the main characters that she was drawing power from, and she was also drawing power from like the Phantom Stranger, but obviously not just the Phantom Stranger and like Alan Scott. So two
Legend.
more possibly out reversal characters, but not Alan. Phantom Stranger was horribly weakened, so we can probably count him out, or at least for the most part. Which means that Zatanna may potentially have an outer reversal feat here. We don't necessarily know it's possible, so you could definitely get her up there if you want to. Um, I know another feat was brought to my attention where she like stops DC's time stream from like collapsing or something. I haven't personally found it, so I'm not going to speak too much about it. But if that's true, I know some people are going to be like, time, that's like only like 4D, so, like multiversal, and it's like, it's DC's 4D, which is like Fear of the Gods tier ish, so yeah.
Well, aren't the yeah like the isn't Darkseid above time though? Like,
Not DC's time, no.
well, I
Mixie's,
guess
but
I guess it's like
yeah.
there are probably multiple temporal dimensions in DC anyway.
Hmm.
So yeah. Either way, it feels like Zatanna should be able to get to Outerversal with her magic at its best, at least with like the genie. But
Yeah.
it just feels like they could probably counter each other's hacks, but Wanda just raw overpowers just in brute force with magic.
Yeah, it's pretty likely that one can just do that. I guess outside of that, there was another feat. Beyond that, it is when Zatanna did amp Spectre at one point alongside a bunch of other uh, alongside other DC magicians like Doctor Fate, and I don't remember everybody who was there. I don't have the scan in front of me, but it was during Crisis on Infinite Earths where the Anti-Monitor was destroying the multiverse, and nobody could stop him. So a bunch of um, Earth sorcerers and sorceresses, and Spectre, who's like one of the most powerful magicians, or like one of the most powerful magical entities, since he's like technically like what Silver Surfer is to Galactus, but to the presence, just that the power gap is bigger, because, yeah. Uh, I guess like Spectre is more powerful than the Silver Surfer, but the gap between the Presence and Galactus is like way bigger than the gap between Spectre and Silver Surfer, which
Well,
sounds
yeah.
really stupid to say, but
I mean, it feels
yeah.
like it's obvious to say because,
Mm-hmm.
like,
It's
unless you're
yeah.
talking about the one above all, how many Marvel characters would not have at least a sizable gap between them and the presence? It's,
The House of Ideas and characters in that book. Yeah, that's like, and that's like you can still argue that the Presence is above that because like Marvel and DC are pretty much equal in all regards, minus the one above them. So yeah.
yeah. So, one thing I also noticed throughout this discussion is that DC seems to care a lot more about the magicians working together, um, While Marvel is just like, nah, Wanda. Just Wanda. Like,
Sort
that
of. I mean,
that
there's
seems to
also
be
a.
a recurring theme.
I mean, in Ultimates, I know that like a celestial attacks Earth in order to destroy eternity. There's like a lot of narrative implication behind it that like if that happens, everything's going to be destroyed, and then like sorcerers work together to like show teamwork
Okay, but
because like
is it?
obviously that
You
threat
said
is not.
Ultimates. Is that Marvel Ultimate? Like that world?
No, it's 616.
Okay, thank God, because I was about to say, who cares? It's incest Wanda.
Oh no, no. It was 616, and they work together and BFR the Celestial to like a higher plane of existence. I think to like maybe the outside, which is beyond the neutral zone that we were talking about. So it's sort of like the source wall, maybe, if we compare it 1 to 1.
Fair enough.
So yeah, very overpowered, but teamwork. Um, is that? Oh yeah, you know what? Do you just want to get to the plot hacks that we were talking about?
Yes. While we're trying to avoid just talking about Wanda, let's get to the plot hacks thing with
Okay,
Zatanna.
so in a recent issue that came out, Zatanna and the other Justice League Dark members go to the Library of Babel, I think. Um, yeah. Oh my god, where did the scans go? Yes. So I think it's to the Library of Babel, and they go there, and essentially, actually, no, you asked about the House of Ideas. I guess this is similar to the House of Ideas. The closest concept in power, no. It does not match in power. I'm sure
Okay.
this is above the multiverse, but I
Time out.
don't think it gets beyond like the sphere of the gods. Or maybe it does. It's very metafictional, but it's like sort of like Grant Morrison type stuff, but it's very metafictional in that literally any story written in DC is like housed in the Library of Babel, and anytime anything new is like printed, a new action, a copy of that book is made, and like the Justice League Dark go there, and Zatanna just ends up going. Like, I believe they needed to like distract the library, like the librarian, the cosmic librarian that was there. So Zatanna decided to cast a spell in which a new word was added to every story that was ever published in DC. Or supposedly that's what the comic implies. And she does that and it messes up a bunch of stuff. But yeah, interesting, right?
Right. So it's not something she can
Very.
just do, I assume.
No, that was under her own power.
Oh. Oh. Wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't edit any DC story directly, but it made copies of it, so it's still technically plot hacks. I did bring this up with Momo, and he said that it probably wasn't combat applicable, but like, yeah, she can't rewrite the plot on her own, but she has a degree of plot hacks, if that,
I mean,
you know.
I am wondering how it would be combat applicable because it's not like she can use the plot hacks on Scarlet Witch.
I guess if she like, she can like undo some of her hacks that she doesn't resist, probably.
But at that point, she's been
Well, I
hit
mean,
by them.
that is true. Yeah. I mean, that is something to take into
I
account.
could imagine that maybe she could alter it so in another story she beats Wanda, but then the one that's
That, yeah.
currently fighting her would not be able to take advantage of that. And
Ooh. Yeah. Actually, that is something we should go over at the end when we just, like, go over everything. Because I feel like this is very important to mention, and you are probably gonna just, like, be super done with Marvel by this point. Actually, no, you won't, because this was written wonderfully by like one of Marvel's best authors. So Al Ewing, he's pretty much Marvel's version of Grant Morrison. He builds most of the cosmology, and now it turns out that if you can warp reality to enough of a degree, you automatically gain plot hacks in Marvel.
So let's talk about the astral regulators.
Ew, oh my god, no, that's not even canon. No, ew, I
Wait,
don't want to
what?
bring that
Hold
into
on.
the
What do you mean it's
universe.
not canon?
It's an alternate multiverse.
I thought it got retconned that. Okay, last time I talked to someone, they said that it got retconned in the sense that it was not more powerful than the one above all. It was more powerful than like some tiny aspect that's so infinitesimal it doesn't matter. So now you're telling me
Oh
no,
no,
that's not the case. It's just some other multiverse with some other thing called the one above all. That's just not the one above all.
no, you are right, but like, the one above all is above canon. The House of Ideas is above canon. So, he is. Both of those are right. It's an alternate multiverse in which some fodder aspect of the one above all exists. So, yeah.
So the Marvel's writers hated that astral regulator above one above all thing so much they both retconned that that was the one above all and also retconned the entire story from existing.
No, Starlin, the guy that wrote Infinity Conflict and Infinity Ending, just did not respect continuity, and nobody had to retcon him because Marvel itself was just like, you kind of debunked your own story inside your story because, like, yeah, you do you.
This is brilliant.
That's kind of what happened.
This is
He
brilliant. I
literally,
love this.
it's no. But anyways, let's just go to Marvel's plot hacks because yeah, Marvel
Yeah, that this
technical
one's
Scarlet Witch.
actually applicable.
Actually, no, you can decide if it's applicable or not.
I mean,
So,
if you take what you said at face value, it's more applicable if you give them both plot hacks.
okay. So Marvel's cosmology, the idea is that there are different iterations of the multiverse or omniverse, but not the multi or omniverse that we were talking about that Wanda affected, because that was the seventh omniverse, and now we're talking about the eighth omniverse.
God, I love Marvel so much.
Um, so at the beginning of before all of time, I guess. Uh, yeah, before all of time, before all concepts, there was the first firmament, which was the first universe created by the one above all. And then the first firmament, it created uh the celestial, the aspirants, and then some of those like rebelled, they became the celestials, they had a war, the first firmament exploded. Um and then like that one universe turned into like an omniverse, and or like the remnants of that universe turned into like an omniverse that died later at like some point that we don't know because there was no time, and then it regrew into the third iteration as its conceptual or like its conceptuality like ascended to like the far shore, which is like its own version of heaven, I guess, or not heaven, just like an afterlife. um and then that kept happening until we made it to the eighth. And then um the eighth cosmos, again, this is multi-eternity we're talking about. I don't think I made that clear, but it was multi-eternity. It is multi-eternity. And multi-eternity is the embodiment of the entire multiverse or omniverse. And inside of multi-eternity exists all the multiverses, all the megaverses, the micro omniverse, I guess, the superflow, the neutral zone, the yeah, that's it. And like maybe stuff like overspace, gutter space, macroverse, microverse, all of that is inside of multi-eternity of the eighth cosmos. And um yeah, he has M bodies that represent the universe and possibly even the multiverse, just like multi eternity. I don't even know at this point. There's like so much continuity stuff that needs
Even
to be
you have been broken
patched.
by Marvel now.
Yeah, it's formed out of eternity's substance and it is pure plot. It's literally plot composed into a mask. And do you want to know the power of that mask? It makes you equal to whoever you're fighting. That's literally what it is. It's literal
Oh, for
plot.
fuck's
It's
sake.
Marvel's definition of we focus more on plot than power, so that's the thing. Um, it's like its story, its substance, its literal narrative in this. You can wear it and become as powerful as you need to be because the plot focuses more on the story and therefore your power just automatically stems from the plot. So, yeah, if you wear that mask, you can literally control plot induced stupidity, or not control, but like you can like not. Raider who wore the mask went back through plot, through time.
You're cutting out.
Was oh yeah, he fought a guy that was like threatening previous iterations of the cosmos, which means that like that Marvel used plot as a narrative thing to amplify the power of its own cosmology.
That's so dumb.
So if you like use a certain interpretation of the cosmology, yeah, I can pretty much just say that multi like M bodies might have been amplified to be outerversal, high outerversal, and just like certain realms could be argued to be boundless now just off the bat without any explanation, just because that's how the story works. And if you read the story, it's actually a really good story, but that retcon technically like messed with different things. And anyways, it's like not necessarily important if you don't focus on it that much. But that's like a high end, I guess, more or less. And if you just focus on like the vital aspect of like the plot or whatever, it's just that reality is composed of plot. So if you can manipulate reality to a certain extent, you can change the plot. That's pretty much what it is.
So what I'm getting out of this is that when it comes to Zatanna, her plot hacks is worse, and the best you could argue with it is that eventually she could be able to plot hacks her way to one version of her beating Scarlet Witch, but that's going to take a while, and it's not going to be the one that the battle's even focused on anyway, because that's just eventually a version elsewhere will win, while all the other ones have not.
Mm-hmm.
So, in other words, it's completely irrelevant.
I
Okay.
mean, I mean, even in Wanda's case, I don't think she can directly go, oh yeah, the plot wants me to win. She's not Cosmic Armor Superman, but it is a byproduct of her plot, of her reality warping, so it's something.
You just remind me how much I don't want
Um,
Cosmic Armor Superman in Death Battle.
no,
If
Cosmic Armor Superman is literally that character who's like, I'm aware of the plot and I can change it
Yeah,
however
I
I want,
remember. I
and
remember.
that's
I
kind of
read
what he
that
does.
comic, and it was like, oh, the plot wants me to lose. I don't want to do that, and he just wins because he just punches the plot and the guy at the same time,
That's what he does, yeah.
which makes sense because Mandrak and like those kind of like monitors can just eat stories, so it does make sense. But at the same time, I really don't want him in Death Battle, especially if they do Goku vs Superman 3. If they add that in, I'm gonna fucking cry because that's just come on. Theta State Superman can take out anything in Dragon Ball. You don't need to fucking give him that too. But I could see them doing it if
No,
they're
you
like,
don't.
oh, let's give them everything. Let's give heroes. Let's give fucking Xenoverse to Goku, and for Superman, let's give him fucking Thought Robot.
Oh yeah, no, that won't work.
That'd be stupid, but
Just like, no, yeah. Um, what else? Oh yeah. After that point, uh, No, I think that's it. Yeah, for the most part, that is it. Is there anything else I need to touch up on for Scarlet Witch? Yes, there is, of course.
Is it just the House of Ideas?
No. Okay, so chaos magic equals Phoenix Force, I guess. We went over that before, yin yang duality. And I know there was like a moment in AVX where Wanda was able to like unable to even like hurt Dark Phoenix Cyclops. But like technically she did still like Hope Summers like used some of her power to like hurt the Phoenix Force. Like she used her power and then like channeled it into like an Iron Fist sort of like punch and just like was messing with Dark Phoenix Cyclops, and then like Wanda was able to one shot several Phoenix hosts, including Magic, who's like the sorceress supreme of Limbo, which is like an outer-versal realm. So
Oh my god.
yeah,
What?
and she was just messing with Phoenix hosts, and yes, she was unable to like hurt Dark Phoenix Cyclops, but then like she just like contributed half of the power required to like disperse the Phoenix Force and then like erase it from existence. So
That didn't last, did it?
oh no, the Phoenix came back. The Phoenix Force is just like a completely different level of absurd if you look at like the entire Phoenix Force. But
Does like the strongest Phoenix Force beat the strongest Scarlet Witch?
oh, we'll get to that once we go after the House of Ideas like stuff. But
Yeah, because that's going to be necessary. It's not just the final nail in Zatanna's coffin. I think it's very clear that Zatanna is probably going to lose the death battle.
I mean, you never know. She could win
She could
because like a
win,
lot of this stuff is quite recent.
but you did also say that like you did mention some of the relevant things that make Wanda beat Zatanna are in the recommended reading list. And consider that it's very possible
Oh
that
yeah.
this was meant to happen last year because, WandaVision happened, but because of
Mm-hmm.
the recent stuff, that's why they pushed it to this year. Like, I also want to bring up, in the Saitama versus Popeye storyboards, it actively says in the top left corner, episode 19. So that makes me think there could be some episodes from last season that just didn't happen. And it would not be, well, would not, like, this is just sort of speculation, but it would
Oh.
not surprise me if this was going to be last season, but because of WandaVision, but then
Mm-hmm.
they just didn't, and they thought, I mean, look, if we can't capitalize on WandaVision, we can capitalize on Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, so it should not be that
Yeah.
big a problem. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Mm-hmm.
That is 100% speculation. There's nothing concrete about what I just said. I don't want people to go parroting me, and quoting me on that. It's all just me thinking of what could be in my head, but I'm just saying it is completely possible that if it's on the recommended reading list, it's probably going to be relevant. And yeah, I mean, for all you know, it could just be
Yeah.
black boxed in like the corner, and Wanda will still win just because of different reasoning. But the black box will mention, by the way, this shits all over Zatanna.
I think you cut out. Oh yeah. We're back.
I'm just saying, it could they could just black
Uh.
box the newest stuff and give Wanda the win through other means.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm fairly certain that Wanda's going to win the death battle.
Mm-hmm. I mean, cool. Um. Okay. I guess the last thing before the House of Ideas stuff that I want to touch up on Wanda is her recent Trial of Magneto run sort of thing. That's like a Magneto thing, where that's the one where she committed suicide and decided to uncommit suicide. Um, we learned that she has control over all reality in that comic, where he contradicts the Life Force retcon again. Um, and when she died, she actually was sent to a realm made out of chaos magic, like her own afterlife,
Oh god.
where she fought her own more like a more experienced version of herself in her Eldritch Orchard, which is what the chaos magic afterlife is. And after she brought herself back to life, she was able to merge all versions of herself, including her past, present, and future. So technically, even if you say that House of M isn't standard, Wanda could technically just summon different versions of herself from across time, including ones that have amps.
So here's an
So
army of me.
No, she can legitimately do that, and that is so. I mean, she didn't just do that, she fused with all of them. So now she just, like, composited herself
I'm
mid
really wondering
fight.
how would you argue House of M isn't standard? Because at this point, it feels like she's already got stuff that's more powerful than House of M, just being
Yeah, I
Chthon
mean,
and all
there's.
that.
Mm-hmm. And, yeah, I don't even know. I mean, so if she can just do that, what even is the point? Because, like, that comic describes that chaos magic is, like, the primal form of magic. And it is, because originally even Doctor Strange didn't know about its existence.
And even
So.
even then, like there's a potential of the life force that you mentioned they could give her, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the end. Fight over, done.
Yeah.
There is no coming back. Zatanna versus Chaos Magic feels like it could be debated, but Zatanna versus
Mm-hmm.
the Life Banana, no. Does Zatanna at least
No.
beat the feminism power?
Again, let's just push that all back to, like, the end,
Okay.
because Nexus being, again, we went over that. Okay, yeah, cool. Um, yeah, she's beyond death. She stated that, and I think that might be it. Am I missing something? No. I guess we can just go over House of M one more time towards the end, but no. Okay, House of Ideas stuff. Um, House of Ideas, Marvel Cosmology, Avengers, No Road Home. Pretty much in House of not House of no in Avengers No Road Home, the Greek goddess of night called Nyx, who is an elder god, like I don't know, maybe she's like Chthon, like, yeah, but she's more powerful than them because of course she is. Um she was messing, like, her passive existence, she one shot Zeus and was messing with the Far Shore, like the place that I mentioned before where previous versions of Multi Eternity go. Yeah, that place views everything else as like a story, like a non existent comic panel, everything below it, like the outside, like Oblivion. And yeah, she was messing with that just like in base form. And then she powered, then like there were Nyx shards that were like remnants, like pieces of her soul that were like broken by Zeus and sent across the multiverse, and she was like collecting them. And once she like ascended to her full power, she just like once she ascended to her full power, she was able to like see the House of Ideas and just go, I want to go to the House of Ideas. So that's what she did. She entered the House of Ideas and whatever. And like when Ips had like I think one shot or like it's like something, Wanda was able to hurt her, which is still really impressive because she was one-shotting Skyfathers and messing with abstract realms beyond eternity. And Wanda hurt her, and not just that, but she outsped her, which is like a straight-up irrelevant speed feat. So cool.
You might want to
Um,
define that because when you say irrelevant speed feed, someone might think, oh, it's just not relevant. But
no. So basically, irrelevant speed is beyond immeasurable speed, which is like all forms of speed, like the fastest speed that you can get without it's like being beyond the concept of speed itself.
yeah,
So, um, so yeah, once Nyx entered the House of Ideas, she was gonna remake all of Marvel in her own image, which was eternal night in like full darkness. And then Wanda was like, okay, and then like Vision like phased into the House of Ideas and stopped her using Marvel's good power. But originally, it was just like Wanda. Basically, the feat that relates to the House of Ideas was that as Nyx was entering, the house blasted light, and Wanda was able to like stop that light from affecting some of her friends, um, and herself, obviously. And you might be like, "Oh, it's just light. Why is that impressive?" That light was everything in creation.
of course it was.
Everything in creation. So everything in Marvel, every single thing. in Marvel. So, um, I don't even know how to explain that. It's like every character's energy, every character's superpowers, every character's. It's like canon, non-canon, fan fiction, head canon. Everything is in the House of Ideas. Everything that your true imagination just like dreams up, it's in the House of Ideas. Canon, like MCU. Again, fan fiction, I guess. Technically, oh my god. Uh, yeah, Rule 34, I guess, is canon in the House of Ideas. Anything that belongs to Marvel has ever belonged to Marvel, will ever belong to Marvel, or yeah, in the future, whatever. Every writer, reader, whoever, true Marvel fans, whatever, even Death Battle, I guess by that logic, is in the House of Ideas. And Wanda blocked all of that coming her way,
Of course she did.
which means that by technicality, she automatically resists almost any hacks if she can do that again. Which, yeah, like you said, screws over Zatanna. It's the highest peak in Marvel cosmology.
Aside from the one
Nothing
above all
Zatanna has done
himself.
other than the one above all himself, or like characters like then and now who actually do scale to the House of Ideas and not just like it's light, because like the true House of Ideas is beyond that light. So
Yeah, and I hate their names, and I will never not hate their names. It's so stupid.
then and now, yeah. So that is everything about Wanda.
So
Yeah,
I think Wanda's gonna win.
you think Wanda's gonna win? I guess we should just like go over everything just one last time, like just put them side to side. Uh, oh, one more thing for Zatanna. She was possessed by the Upside Down Man because like how he was sealed, and it was stated that his power was inside of her, but she couldn't technically use it. Like she could, but she'd be corrupted. And now the Upside Down Man is no longer inside of her because the Great Darkness pretty much took him out somehow. So she no longer has access to his power.
I guess that's a shame because it would have been neat, like for the fight, if Upside Down Man sort of took over, and Scarlet Witch sort of
And
lost it
then
at the
like she
same
fought
time.
like Chthon
Yeah,
Wanda,
yeah.
like goddess of chaos.
Like I mean that would have been cool. Speaking of like the animation, I remember talking to Bang, and he said one of the things he does not want is for the ending to just be no more Zatanna, and then that's the end. Because I mean that would be kind of lame as an ending if she just decides, actually I don't want you to exist, and that just ends the fight immediately.
Bang actually said that they could like incorporate an ending with No More Zatanna, but like instead of it just like being something she automatically does, it's like done throughout the fight. So like at the end it's like this super big like thing where Zatanna's like, oh, you haven't been doing anything, but Wanda's just like, yeah, I have, it's just gonna affect you now. And then
I
it's like, oh my god, what's happening?
what I really just want is for like the fight to both be really trippy and for them to constantly be countering each other.
Yeah.
They just every time they go for something, the other one's like, I've actually already set something up that'll just say no to that, and like
Uh-huh.
they're just
And
constantly countering what they do.
and that is something that I wanted to go over because um obviously there are powers that I went over in the beginning. There's still so many more powers that we haven't gotten over, but we can't go over every single one because new ones are gonna keep popping up. But
And it's not like they're
they can
all
both warp
relevant.
reality. They can both use telekinesis, telepathy, all that. One thing that Zatanna could do is technically if they use Wanda at some random period in her timeline, especially in her more mentally vulnerable state, Zatanna could possibly just like use telepathy to take her out. Um, she could use illusions to possibly take her out. That's how Doctor Strange beat Scarlet Witch during Avengers Disassembled.
Oh,
Um,
could they try to fuse with each other?
oh yeah, like how she did with the Upside Down Man and
And
Chthon.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean that could be the
they
ending,
can.
like the two fusing into one and having a battle inside the mind for who gets to control.
I think at that point, I think they can both resist and like pluck each other out of that,
I mean,
which would be
hmm.
yeah,
Though I mean, I guess at that point you could also just say Wanda's stronger, so she just slaps Zatanna's mind and just like, no, don't do that.
yeah.
But yeah, keep going. Yeah, when you're ready.
Um, what else could happen? Uh, oh yeah, I guess other than mind hexing, Zatanna can also make herself like sort of immune to her own hexes being used against her, so that would be impressive because like they can both play with each other's like hacks and like copy each other's abilities or like make resistances. So I feel like that's pretty important. But obviously, Wanda can resist her own power being used against her. So,
So yeah, copying each other's powers won't actually do anything.
mm-mm. And oh, that does remind me. Zatanna does have probability manipulation like Scarlet Witch, but Wanda's is much more layered.
You,
And
I'd imagine.
we haven't really talked about the probability manipulation of Wanda, but she can um Wanda can see pretty much all the timelines, just like being a Nexus, being in her probability manipulation. She can see any outcome out of like infinite possibilities, technically, and she can pick and choose to like adjust her method of like fighting. Which means that if Zatanna tries her plot hacks thing, the probability manipulation can just be like, oh, in this timeline she just did this, so like, do you want to counter it? And then Wanda could just be like, yeah, no more blank, and then that could just like disappear as a possibility. That'd be a really trippy way to like, oh my god,
To
that would
to
be really weird.
I mean, I wouldn't mind more trippiness. Like if she does see a future and she decides to turn that future off,
That would actually be really cool, but that would just like, how would they even like explain that?
she could literally you could literally just have it like have them explain that she can do that. So in the analysis, so in the animation, it zooms in on her eyes and there's like a filter over the screen to show that it's not really happening, and like have it fast forwarding to the like through them fighting to the end of the battle and showing Zatanna doing that,
Yeah.
and then have her go
Mm-hmm.
no, just she just says no, and just have that and that frame of animation just crumple up and just vanish.
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
Like I would not complain if they're fighting with their own medium, not in like a silly
Mm-hmm.
way like Deadpool Pinkie Pie, but in like a way where they're destroying frames of animation and like breaking everything.
Oh yeah, and that makes sense considering Zatanna can
Yeah,
like ascend to higher planes and just like mess with like the supposed panel.
I remember when I was talking about what you could do with Swamp Thing versus Man Thing, and I suggested they reach out into 3D animation to
Mm-hmm.
leave the 2D. You could probably do
Yeah,
that too if you wanted. I mean, at that point, you
you
are
could.
breaking the budget probably, but it is something you could do.
Yep. Um, what else could they do? Oh yeah, fusion. We went over that. On probability manipulation, Wanda could also potentially turn off Zatanna's powers. Zatanna could possibly also turn off Wanda's. Actually, no, she can't. Because like, I know that an alternate universe counterpart was able to like mess with Mr. Mxyzptlk's powers, and but like that was like an alternate universe version of Zatanna, and technically even the Prime Earth one was able to like trick Mixie into like saying his name backwards, but that wouldn't really work on Wanda.
I mean, like heralds have tricked him into doing that. So
It's sort of his own game. Like that's like his own rule set. Like if Mixie wants to come back, he can come back. No one's stopping him.
yeah, I mean, it really feels more like just whenever Mixie's in trouble, 90% of the time it's just him bullshitting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Uh okay, I mean I guess they could both put each other to sleep, but I don't know what that would, you know,
that sounds like it'd be a really
do.
boring way for the battle to end.
um okay, so I guess to go over stats one more time. Speed, I know, is like, oh my god, street tier at the beginning. No, they're not street tier. They both have immeasurable and irrelevant speed feats. Marvel Herald's Thor has traveled through time with sheer speed alone, so has Surfer. In DC's Superman has, Flash has, obviously, Shazam has. And there's also irrelevant speed feats, like in Marvel, where Thor threw Mjolnir out of the multiverse recently. That's the feat that I was talking about before. I was just like, what is
Why did
going
he
on?
do that?
Oh my god. Okay. Actually, no, he didn't throw Mjolnir. Ugh, I got that wrong. No, so basically, Mjolnir turned into this. Oh my god, it's your favorite character. Um, Mjolnir has a sentient superstorm, Skyfather superstorm, Skyfather level thing called the God Tempest. And Mjolnir was thrown into the sun at one point, and so was your favorite character, Mangog, and they both like fused together into like a Mangog Mjolnir that was evil, and they attacked Thor. It ended up in Odin dying, but before that happened, Thor sent Mangog, the Mangognir, to, or not Thor, Odin used Sif, who opened up the Bifrost, to send that to the edge of like creation, like beyond the Omniverse, and like in like a place that like not even eldritch deities could like look into.
And
And then like
Mjolnir didn't
Mjolnir
give a
came back.
shit. He didn't give a shit.
No, and then the Mangog Mjolnir came back in like minutes, and I mean it's like, oh my god, it's minutes. No, it's literally like an outer missile distance. So yeah, it doesn't really matter how long it took.
Fucking Mango, yeah!
Oh, so Mangog now has an irrelevant speed feat reactionary, I guess.
Awesome. Love it.
That's cool. Not just
Marvel did
Mangog,
it
but
good.
now King Thor scales. Potentially base Thor could be argued to scale. Odin with like very little Odin force, or like a certain amount that was like not Skyfather tier, could scale. Um, and that means Wanda could scale. Silver Surfer once outraced all of possibility ceasing to exist, even including his own possibility of being erased from the multiverse. He outraced that as everything was destroyed, the entropy of creation. And yeah, reactionary speed feat as well on that level. Superman once flew from the monitor sphere to through limbo to bleed space, to like into the sphere of the gods, and then into bleed space, and then into Earth before Lois's heart could beat once as time was frozen.
Oh yeah, he flew
Um,
into the real world. What the fuck?
not into the real world, but like into DC's Earth, but like through several outerversal
That's
planes.
so
So,
stupid.
and then Flash, of course, outran the Speed Force. I don't know if that could scale, but like all Flashes, or like both Barry and Wally, have irrelevant speed feats since they can outrace conceptual speed. So, yeah. Can Zatanna scale? Yes. Can Wanda scale? Yes.
So
Both of them
at
have
least
equal
at
speed.
least you could argue speed to equal. That's the one place.
Mm-hmm.
Speed and haxes, in at least in terms of just the haxes themselves, are relatively equal. But
Um, Zatanna has like an advantage in like telepathy and like pure fighting skill. But yeah, I guess.
the problem is when you get to raw power. Raw power is what sort of tips this.
Yeah. Raw power. I mean, you can really, depending on what death battle gives them, you can argue that either of them wins, but I think more times than not, it's safe to say Wanda wins.
Yeah.
Just like, yeah. Like, even if you exclude the House of Ideas stuff, if you exclude the Chthon stuff, you can still argue for Wanda winning. Like, even if you just say only restricted to base forms, you can very well argue that Wanda wins more times than not, just via probability manipulation and better reality warping. I mean, obviously at that point, Zatanna can do pretty much anything, and it becomes super, like, close. It's like a 5.1 to 4.9, but I think once you, like, go above and beyond, it just becomes, like, Zatanna could possibly win, but, like, I feel like Wanda would just has way more arguments
Yeah.
to, yeah.
That's basically how it feels. Like you could Wanda, like you could argue Zatanna keeping up for a bit, but once Wanda goes beyond what the genie can wish Zatanna to be, Zatanna can't really go any further to keep
Mm-hmm.
up with Wanda,
And
and Wanda can still
yeah,
go further than that.
yeah. And even if we like remove all like the context stuff from both Wanda and Zatanna, because obviously I feel like Um, Wanda, like, obviously she didn't do the Chthon stuff herself. She needed the Darkhold, and like, it's that one's a bit more consistent than the Life Force one. But since obviously it would make no sense for Wanda on her own to be able to beat Chthon if she only has like a fraction of his power. But once she did, it's like that has context. Zatanna against like Pralia, and the Upside Down Man also has its own context. So like if you like ignore that context and you just say all the feats are valid no matter what, the Life Force and like the House of Ideas stuff would just like cosmologically just smear the Upside Down Man feat and the uh Pralia feat.
Yeah.
Just like at that point, it's like it's general. It would make sense if you said no. Let's like not give Wanda this because it's just not very interesting at that point. But even if you don't use it, it's just like, yeah, she still has more methods to win. I mean, Zatanna might be more versatile from like an overall holistic stance, but like not holistic, but like just like a very in-depth look at it. But like from that holistic stance, it's like they're both like have the same hacks, can do the same stuff, can like do everything. It's just like Wanda is more powerful and her hacks is layered in the areas that it counts. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think what we've established here is pretty much it's more likely that Scarlet Witch is going to win. It's not impossible based on what they give both of them that Zatanna could win, but I would definitely hinge my bets on saying that Scarlet Witch is going to win. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say that even with the anti-monitor feat, which is actually really good because like anti-monitor was ascending to like stuff that was supposedly like he was going to destroy concepts undreamt by like God, or that's what that comic said. Even if you take that at face value, that's like anti-monitor has super powerful conceptual like destruction. So if uh Zatanna could like amplify the specter enough to like at least hang in there, that would be like Zatanna's a portion of her power can like at least go up against like conceptual destruction. So maybe she can like fight against Wanda just like wishing concepts out of existence because Wanda was doing it on major scales. So
I feel like if you took that at its most face value, like if you just say that, oh, that means if you bullshit that to say, oh, anti-monitor was like affecting things that like are just below the presence, and then you bullshit to say Zatanna's partially able to amp someone to hang in a little bit, then I feel like even if you were to make that sort of wankage, the best you could argue is that Zatanna could maybe hang in there with House of Ideas Power Wanda for a very short while, and then the battle's over once that's done. So I feel like
yeah,
if you were to take that as highest possible thing, and you take them both to that same scale, Zatanna can briefly amp someone to sort of hang in there, while Scarlet Witch is the one that's being hung with. So
yeah.
battle's not going to last much longer when it gets there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to love to see the comments on this one. I'm sure most of it's actually just going to be, this is so long and confusing.
Yeah, you know what? It's fine. I honestly think, you know what? Let's just post the Marvel and DC Cosmology blogs because I know we didn't really go over them as like as you know detailed as we could have done. So might as well just post those blogs and like certain threads because why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly think we did not need to go too deep, because when we were talking about the cosmology, we were only going as high as like God sphere, so it's not like we were going super high. And I've
In
already
Zatanna's case.
yeah, I mean, even Scarlet Witch's case, it was only once we went a bit beyond the part where we were talking about the cosmology that it started to get higher. But I feel like, because I've already explained dimensional tiering on the channel several times before,
Mm-hmm.
so if people don't understand that, then they're not going to understand the matchup, or at least a lot of
Yeah.
the higher stuff of the matchup. But basically, it's just a matter of how many times above infinity, and Scarlet Witch is just more, which makes no sense,
Mm-hmm.
but that's just Marvel and DC at this point.
Yeah.
So I think
I mean,
we
in a general way, so like base forms, close fight, who wins? It could go either way. Once you include House of M, it tips more towards Wanda. If it's just purely House of M versus Upside Down Man, then Zatanna would win. If it is, um, everything with Wanda, if like it's the witchcraft Wanda, then Wanda might be able to beat the upside down man Zatanna. But like if it was just like witchcraft versus pure Zatanna, then Wanda would win even if Zatanna was more skilled with magic. Wanda has more raw power. Combine that with chaos magic again, Wanda wins. Um, and if you include the House of Ideas and everything that Zatanna has done, just remove that context, then Wanda would still end up coming out on top.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, with the life force, that doesn't necessarily make it any fairer. The best thing you can argue, the best thing that you should argue, is that the life force just, let Wanda use her full power and corrupted her instead of making her as powerful as the Beyonder. But if you argue that, then she's as powerful as the Beyonder.
Who is a bit
Or more powerful, actually.
Is a bit more powerful than Zatanna.
Yeah.
I'd imagine. So, I think we've
Yeah.
covered everything.
We've covered everything.
And
yeah.
it did not
Or
take us.
mostly.
It did not take us 3+ hours, which I guess comes down to the fact that, unlike something like Batman vs Iron Man, which has a lot of armors, or Madara vs Aizen, which has a lot of relevant powers, you can essentially just boil down Wanda and Zatanna's abilities to. They can do whatever they want, but it's not all entirely relevant. So it comes to a matter of, while they do have a lot of powers, not all of their powers are super relevant to the matchup because they can resist most of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, any last things you want to say? I guess, who are you rooting for? Who do you want to win?
I like both of them near equally, but that's really hard. Honestly, I don't think I would mind either of them winning if like both of them are represented properly, but I think, I don't know, with like Multiverse of Madness hype and just like the fact that I've been repping Wanda for a long time, and or not possibly, and just like the fact that DC has a magic win right now, I feel like I would be happier if it just like tied out, and like if Wanda won, whereas Fate won the last one, which I do agree with. I think Fate would win, but overall, I do think Wanda winning would be my preferred outcome. But if Zatanna wins, that's cool as long as Wanda gets everything, especially if her power is noted.
Fair enough. I don't imagine they're gonna go too far into like dimensional tiering and all that. I feel like they're just gonna stick to like potentially saying that just on a conceptual basis, the things that Scarlet Witch goes to should reasonably be more powerful than Zatanna.
Yeah.
So I feel like that'll probably come down to that. Just saying that this is literally a representation of where the writer writes the story. Like you don't need to really go into cosmology if you do like casuals, if you just explain it like that, because there's nothing Zatanna has that really gets to that tier.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well then, I think that we've gone over most of what we could have gone over. So
yeah,
that's cool.
Any last things you wanna say?
Nope. I guess we'll post the Marvel and DC Cosmology blogs down in the description, so you can check those out if you see them. But yeah.
So yeah, I know despite how it seemed with how quiet I was for a lot of it, I did have fun. It was actually quite interesting to listen to a lot of that stuff. Like obviously it was a lot of just listening to you, but like there are points where you can clearly tell I was interested. Like cool. I don't care for the matchup too much, but it is interesting to learn new things about characters. I mean, mostly Zatanna, because with a lot of Scarlet Witch stuff I see shared around all over the place anyway. Did not know most of the stuff was Zatanna. I imagined that it would not be hard to argue it out of Versal, just based on the fact that she is one of the strongest magic whatevers in DC, but turns out
it's really not hard to argue.
It is actually a lot more interesting, and yeah, so yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed listening to you go off on a matchup that you care a lot about, and you've been waiting a long time.
Yeah, it was fun. Awesome.
Yeah. So
and yeah, if Thor versus Vegeta or Galactus versus Unicron happen, I might be back. And
you'll probably definitely be back for Thor versus Vegeta. Galactus Unicron is one where it'll depend on how I'm feeling, if I want to just talk about that myself. and just get you
Yeah.
for
I mean,
reference on a
yeah.
few things because I basically know all the relevant stuff with Unicron really, including some of the
Yeah, that
stupid
would be so
arguments.
cool.
But that's not
And
much of a
if,
debate. So
yeah. And I'm pretty sure Man Thing or Swamp Thing versus Man Thing won't happen until Bang is back.
oh yeah,
But if that happens ever and if Bang is back, we should do that collab style thing again.
oh absolutely. I
Oh
really
yeah.
like what you can do with Man Thing Swamp Thing. Like I really like
Yeah.
Swamp Thing, and Man Thing looks cool, and he
Mm-hmm.
is cool. So like I would love to be able to do just a really long discussion on that
That
because
would
that
be
is a cool
cool.
matchup to me. At least now that I've
Yeah,
started taking more
honestly,
time to think about it.
any out there Marvel DC fights that aren't street tiers, because I don't really meddle with street tiers that much. If it's not a street tier Marvel versus DC fight, I will be back unless it's Batman versus Captain America 2, because I have repped Captain America longer than any other character in like a single fight. So if for whatever reason that happens again, which I hope it doesn't, because Cap has so many better options
Batman does
and
not need to
Batman
come
does not need
back.
to come back again. If that happens, then yes, I will be here, and that will be like 30 minutes because I am not going to spend this long going over Batman and Cap. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it should not take very long. Like
Mm-mm.
even if you were to argue similar physical stats with both of them, the Shield.
Yeah. Shield.
I feel like to get Batman to win Hellbat him, that's what you need to do.
And then you can just give Cap Mjolnir or the Phoenix Force.
Yeah, but that would be stupid.
That would be stupid. Ew.
At least the Hellbat belongs to Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly,
Yeah.
against Cap is one of the rare times the Justice Buster would probably be useful.
Oh yeah.
Not to say Cap's weaker than a collapsing building, but I feel like getting punched with dwarf stars would be effective enough to at least send him flying out of the earth if he hits him hard enough.
Mm-hmm.
He'll survive with the shield though. Shield will be fine. I still like that Captain America versus Now Fumi, despite the fact that Now Fumi is like multi plus. You can argue the shields are equal anyway. That is amusing to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can say goodbye.
Goodbye.
And
And if I forgot anything, I will address it in the comment section, or I'll have Nemesis address it in the comment section, because I feel like I will probably remember like 5 other things after
yes, you
this
will.
is done.
And I will, when the G1 blog comes out, hopefully I'll remember to just link that in the description because that's going to be
Yeah.
this, but more organized. So less fitting
Mm-hmm.
for the matchup, but better to go through. So
Mm-hmm.
that's all from me. Have a good one,
Yeah.
fellas. I'll see you in the next video,
Me
which
too.
will probably be the Harley Jinx review. Yeah.
Bye.